Okay, I'll open up our meeting April 5th, 2022. And as always, I will first read the public participation at town meetings of the Hatfield Select Board. The Hatfield Select Board welcomes everyone to its meetings and all other public meetings of the town of Hatfield. All regular and special meetings of the boards and committees of the town of Hatfield shall be open to the public and shall conform to the open meeting law. Executive sessions are closed to the public and will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is important to recognize that the open meeting law affords the opportunity to listen to the proceedings but not necessarily participate. During meetings of the Select Board, an attempt will be made to find a balance between hearing from members of the community and conducting required business of the Hatfield Select Board. Tonight, this evening, it'll be me and Brian, and this will not be a Zoom meeting. This meeting will be broadcast live, I'm told, on YouTube, and it'll also be on Channel TV, Channel 15, and if you want to see it sooner, you can always go to the website of Hatfield HCTV YouTube. So we'll start with announcements at this meeting. I just want to remind everybody that it's spring. Kids are on bikes, adults are on bikes. Be careful driving out there. Be a little bit more cautious. And that's the only announcement I have. Brian, do you have any announcements for this evening?
I do not. Thanks, Ed.
Okay. So we've done the announcements. We'll go to approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 29th, 2022.
Okay, I'll second that. Any comment?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I say aye. Okay, so our first posted topic will be with Mark Gillette from the Open Space Committee on a proposed river multi-use trail. So I'm going to turn it over to Mark to give his presentation. And first, thank you for coming tonight, Mark. Nice to see you again.
Well, my pleasure, Ed, Brian.
Hi, Mark.
Great. I'll just recap a little bit about the history of this project because it's been quite a while. This project, which is called the Northampton to Hatfield River Multi-Use Trail, has been in the conceptual stage now for 12 to 14 years. So back in 2008, we actually first discussed this, and Northampton contacted us shortly thereafter and said that they were interested in making a connection between Hatfield and Northampton parallel to the railroad tracks along the Connecticut River that would connect Hatfield to all the multi-use trail systems that originate or go through Northampton. So the Norwatuck Trail, all of the rail trails. At that time, the Open Space Committee thought it was a interesting plan. Most of the trail, I would say 95% of this trail or even more, is going to be in the city of Northampton. But the terminus would be in Hatfield on Elm Court. That is the proposal, and it comes parallel to the railroad tracks and goes very close to the edge of the railroad tracks, but also gets some very interesting and great views along the Connecticut River. So it was about in 2010 where we brought this up to the Board of Selectmen at that time. They liked the idea and gave it basic approval as a concept. We didn't know whether this project would ever get funding or would ever materialize, but there had to be some cleanup work done, there had to be some surveying work done, and the Open Space Committee and the Open Space Fund actually helped to fund some surveying work back in 2010. So I think you actually, in your handout, you have a survey or a kind of a marked up survey that I did, which shows the property around the terminus, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
So there are also some peripheral issues. For instance, the town of Northampton, or the city of Northampton, owns some portion of a property in Hatfield, and Hatfield actually owns a portion of a little piece of property in Northampton. And at that time, we were going to, in 2010, we were going to kind of clean that up and do a swap, but for whatever reason, that didn't materialize in that time. And I think it was partly because the property that Northampton owns is in kind of a partnership with another entity, and I don't think the board at that time wanted to get involved with a third party or a third entity. And I don't really have any clarification on that same issue, but as it stands now, the city of Northampton owns the piece of property adjacent to the town yard at the end of Elm Court. And Hatfield still owns a little triangle of property in the city of Northampton. But that's kind of peripheral to this whole plan. I just want to read just a paragraph that Wayne Fiden sent to the Open Space Committee. He is the head of planning and development in the city of Northampton. And he said, this was last month, he said, "Last week I filed a project need form with the Mass DOT, which puts us in line for the Mass DOT Project Review Committee to review this project in the spring. Hopefully they will approve it and issue a PRC number. This does not guarantee any funding, but it does say that it is an eligible project and that the $6.8 million price tag is not out of bounds. And usually, once we get a PRC number, we can eventually get funding. This project is a little more complex because Mass DOT Rail Division will have to agree that they don't always love bike paths near railroads, but we can meet their standards." So in lieu of that, Wayne actually requested the Board of Selectmen to take a step of endorsing the project, or at least endorsing it in concept and issuing a letter of support for the project. So that's where we are today. So we're hoping that the board will vote to issue that letter of support, and that would go to Northampton and to Mass DOT, which would go into the works and hopefully help to show that there is support in Hatfield for being the terminus of this bike trail, multi-use trail project. So that's why I'm here today.
Okay. May I ask a question?
Yeah,
So I think the trails, so it's a bike trail basically, but I suppose people
Bike
could walk.
trail,
I mean, I'm just
yeah.
looking at the bike path.
right, yep.
So is besides having the path or the connection into Northampton off of Damon Road, and that's the idea, I would imagine, right?
Yes.
Okay, so would Hatfield either be a beginning or an ending point? Is that sort of the vision? And where I'm going with this, Mark, is if people ride their bikes to get on or get off the trail there, I don't think that's a problem.
Right.
What I'm wondering, though, is if it's people driving to the end of Elm Court,
Yep.
parking a car,
Yeah.
and then grabbing their bikes. And so I'm a little concerned potentially, at least on the surface,
Yep.
about parking and traffic on that small little dead-end street.
Right.
That's-
Right.
And I don't know if that's down the road to work those things out, or if maybe you have any information or the Northampton,
All I really
or
have is
Northampton
kind of
does?
conceptual information, Brian, in that Hatfield does own property at the end of Elm Court.
Right.
So if there were I guess it's where the town has a yard and there's all kinds of storage of gravel and all
yes,
kinds of
yeah.
things there. There is more land there than the yard is occupying that Hatfield owns. So there are opportunities to create parking spaces on Hatfield land if we wanted to. There's also opportunities to create, on-street parking
Right.
on the side of Elm Court. There's opportunities where the railroad bridge is on Elm Court, where the railroad crosses Elm Court, going farther along, what is it, to the, I guess it would be to the west. That is Northampton property. They could also, I haven't asked this, but they could also offer street parking on the Northampton side of this project. As far as, how many cars, how much traffic would end up being produced by this, I guess it's really kind of unknown at this point.
Right.
I would imagine that it would mostly be used by Hatfield residents. If you're coming from Northampton, I think you park in Northampton and you come. If you're a Hatfield resident, I would hope that the residents would really appreciate this connection and that we would provide some parking, whether it be on street or whatever, and that Hatfield would really take advantage of having this connection from Hatfield into the whole rail trail system of Northampton. So I think parking's a real issue, you're right. In terms of traffic, I mean, you can go to the end of Norwatuck, the bridge there at the railroad, the old railroad bridge that crosses the Connecticut, and see how many cars are in that parking lot on any given busy weekend.
Right.
Sometimes it's full, sometimes it's half full. They have quite a few more spaces. I think they probably have 40 spaces there. So I don't foresee that we would get that type of traffic in Hatfield, but I think we'd get a lot of Hatfield residents parking there or wanting to park there.
Okay. Again, and thank you for that explanation. My concern is changing the dynamic of Elm Court.
Right.
From a traffic perspective. That's potentially.
Yep.
That's all. I'm trying to maybe think of what a resident questions they may ask, which, and of course, we don't know.
Right.
Till it happens. But, I thought we should just get it out there and at least ask and have it.
I mean, we could always
in
restrict parking on Elm Court. We could always have the bike trail, have the trail built and restrict the number of spaces there. So if you can't park there, and there's only 12 spaces,
Yeah,
then that's going to restrict the traffic anyway.
right.
If Hatfield could find a way to provide spaces not on Elm Court and have people walk to the end of the bike trail or ride their bikes or encourage them to do that, I think there's solutions to limiting the amount of traffic that would end up vehicular traffic
Right.
that would end up going there, just by restricting the number of parking spots.
Yeah, and there's always parking across the street. Oh, it's probably private, but, over at,
That could work out.
but-
I mean, if you did across Elm Street, yeah, in the, I don't know exactly what they
and then
call
you'd bike in from there type thing,
bike in from
Yeah.
there. So that might satisfy residents who feel that
If they- yeah.
there might be too much traffic.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting because Elm Street was where all the traffic used to go to Northampton at one time.
that's right. Elm Court was
But
Elm
my
Street.
question to you, Mark, would be explain the funding of this, who's paying for this, who takes care of this, all that stuff, who maintains it, if it's built, and I'm just curious about all
Yeah, I
that.
don't know all the details, Ed, but this is a Mass DOT project.
Okay,
So this is a state-funded project. So as Wayne Fiden said, they're getting on the list for approval in the spring for funding for this project. How quickly it goes into actual construction, I'm not sure. Whether there is a local match, I don't even know the answers to that. I suppose I could find out more questions about. But as I said, 97% of this trail is in the city of Northampton.
Right.
And Hatfield might have a 1/8 of a mile or a 1/4 of a mile section that actually travels in Hatfield. So if it comes down to some sort of match, and I'm not saying there is, because I don't know that information, but I think at this point, it's just a letter of support. Another thing is Northampton could almost do this project by itself without Hatfield. There's enough land, actually, that Northampton has control over to actually get to the end of Elm Court without going through Hatfield. And I'm not saying they're going to do that. I don't know if they would do that if the board and the town didn't approve of this project or support it in one way or another. So I think Northampton wants to have a partner in this project, and the Open Space Committee has long been in support of making this connection if we could do it.
15 years?
Yeah. And it could be another 15 before it gets built,
Right.
who knows, but.
Right. I mean, personally, conceptually, I have absolutely no problem with this whatsoever. And I know there's still some details that need to work out, whether it's the funding, the parking, the actual connection, the latest and greatest information since this project's sort of been in the works for so long. So,
Right.
I certainly, personally, can get behind the concept.
right.
I think it's great. You know, it's another outdoor, you know, what we all want. We want outdoor activities, we want safety, we want off public roads, if possible, for our walkers and our bikers. And,
Right, right.
I think it'd be a nice program to be part of,
Some of
with
the-
all those other things.
There's some
falling into
pictures in
place.
there too, of just
Yeah.
a couple of them. The views of the Connecticut River are just
Yeah.
really stunning.
Yep,
And there's a good section of that bike path with those kind of views that
yeah,
you just don't see,
no,
you know, of Hadley and the meadows there and the Seven Sisters and, yeah.
yep, it's great.
I mean, it
especially
is
in
a
the fall.
safer alternative for people on bikes to get away from 5 and 10 and main roads, and it's safer for them that way.
It would be.
And it is, like you say, it's just a small section in Hatfield with the majority in Northampton.
Right,
so.
yeah, that's true.
But unlike some projects, you always worry down the road who's going to fix it later on and take care of it, so the town doesn't get stuck with a lot of big bills and stuff, that's
Right.
all.
Well, I think there's plenty of time to answer those questions, but, if the board can see to it to vote.
So if this project goes through, will the people in town have a opportunity to voice their opinion on it? If they say we are going to move ahead with this project, would there be like a hearing for anybody from town that wanted to sit down and say, we like this, or we don't like this, or something like that?
I would certainly imagine there would be, Ed. I can't say because I don't know kind of the whole DOT process, but I would presume that DOT would need to hear from the towns involved, the cities and towns involved. I don't think that this letter of support is binding in any way upon, that this project is going to happen just because you write a preliminary letter of support or conceptual support of this project. So
this letter would actually support the concept of this,
right.
so they could start the process.
They're just
Basically,
reviewing
so-
it for funding in the spring is what it is. And I guess they obviously want to see if the communities support the project in order to know whether or not they feel like they're going to put the energy into designing it,
Right.
engineering
Yeah.
it, and then going out for funding.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, okay. All right, I'll make a motion, thank you, Mark, by the way. I'll make a motion that the town of Hatfield supports the proposed Connecticut River Trail from Hatfield to Northampton.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So be it.
Yeah.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mark,
Yeah,
for coming.
thank you, Mark, and your committee.
And I believe you do have a draft letter that we sent. Yeah,
It's
okay.
in the
Sign off on that.
signature, it's in the signature
Great.
folder.
And I'll find out more.
You need that, or are we
Well, we
sending it
need
off
to,
on your behalf?
I can get it from Marlene, and we could, it needs to go to the Development and Planning in Northampton. Yeah, so they can file it with their application.
Would you like us to mail it directly to them, or did you want to take it and hand deliver it?
Is there a mailing address on that?
I believe
Is it-
so.
Going all the way to Boston, or do you want to keep it local? I mean, this,
I wish I knew, Brian, exactly what.
okay, this
where
is
the-
this is going to
project re-
Project Review Committee at Park Plaza.
Okay, all right. Let me just, why don't I get that letter from you, Marlene, and I'll just make sure that
Okay.
if we mail it, it goes to the right place.
Sure.
Okay, it's been signed, so.
Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
All right.
All right, thanks, Mark.
Okay, we'll move to topic 2. We still have, we got 8 minutes until we meet with the Finance Committee. Topic 2 would be the DPW report on water and sewer billing commitment.
Yep. So I think we need to, do we need Sharon in here for that, or no?
She is on her way in here, but you
Okay.
don't really need her unless you have
We
questions.
just read the.
Right, so
writer's
this
script.
is the total amount of,
Right,
based on consumption, the water bills and sewer
Yep.
billing.
okay, so, so I'll make the motions, Ed, if that's okay, since I kind of have it right here. So I'll run through, there's 3 separate line items and then a total for those at home. So the Select Board commits, so this is to Sharon. The Select Board commits to you for collection the attached fiscal year 2022 water bills, batch number 2M, in the amount of $239,804.01. The Select Board commits to you for collection the attached fiscal year 2022 sewer bills, batch number 2M, in the amount of $230,819.40. The Select Board commits to you for collection the attached fiscal year 2022 meter repair fees, batch number 2M, in the amount of $330, for a total commitment of $470,953.41.
So I walked in late. That is with the new rate increase that was voted on in the fall. So that we'll
Effective
see.
this spring,
Effective this spring, effective this
the
spring.
new rate.
So,
Yep, the new rates.
yeah, the new rates are on there.
So was that in the form of a motion, or was I actually?
was
It was
a
a,
form of a
so
motion.
I'll make that motion that we make
I'll
that
second it.
commitment. All right.
I'll second that.
You're welcome.
Any discussion?
No, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay. Thanks, Sharon, for putting that together.
Okay, so that covers topic 2. Under topic 3, it'll be with the Finance Committee. So I guess we'll take a break for 6 minutes until the Finance Committee arrives, unless you have something else.
No, I don't, Ed. Thank you.
Hey, John, take 6 minutes. Okay, we're back. We'll be meeting with the Finance Committee shortly here, because they're here. And next topic will be the Capital Projects Annual Town Meeting Warrant and Articles with Finance Committee. This evening at the first business under topic 3 will be meeting with, I hope I pronounced this correctly, Suzor IT, is that correct? Okay, we have 2 gentlemen here from the IT company, and I guess, Marlene, is this part of a,
To discuss our budget, our IT budget for FY '23.
Okay.
So I met with Mark last week. Karen and I met with Mark last week to talk about, where we are at this point and, there's different phases to the transition, from switching from one vendor to another. But more importantly, we wanted to go over our budget and any costs that, we need to look at for FY '23. So we talked about eliminating the server. And so we have a server in our emergency services building, and everybody is connected to the server. And the server is getting backed up on a daily basis. So what's being proposed is to eliminate the server and put all the data, the town's data, on the cloud. And there is a cost associated with that. We also talked about replacing workstations. And we're looking at replacing probably 20% of our inventory in FY '23 anyway, right? So we're talking about approximately 6 workstations. But for the server, the estimated cost is about $35,000. There is an option to do a financing lease over 5 years. So, I wanted to have that conversation with the Select Board and Finance Committee. And
okay, can sort of explain
Sure. we'll
coming
turn it
off
over
of a
to them.
server and putting it on the cloud so people can understand what we're talking about? That's what I'm hearing, right? You
Well,
don't want to
so-
use a server anymore, you want to go on the cloud.
So just to get into a little more detail, the server itself is part of the work that we're doing from a backup standpoint for the data. The 35, it's really closer to 36 or 37,000 is to upgrade the infrastructure hardware here that makes out your network. What you have in place today is a big mix of different manufacturers of equipment. The interoperability is a bit of an issue between all the equipment. So, after our assessment, the proposal was that part of taking over the support for the town would be a recommendation to upgrade your infrastructure. That is about 37, Cisco Meraki equipment is about $37,000. that's our latest quote. We think it's going to be a little bit less than that when we'll take a look at some discounts and things.
And what does that money entail? I mean, the 37, what are you getting for that money? Is this all labor or intensive, or
No.
is it equipment?
No, this is
or-
actual hardware, right?
Okay.
The labor itself to install it, we will do under our support contract. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll, so the way, just to help, I guess, give the picture of how we work, so we only sell services to the town, and it's on a flat rate basis. So we came in, did an assessment of the town's current infrastructure, and made a recommendation to upgrade it to improve the security posture of the town, and also reliability of things functioning. We use a couple different things to drive the recommendation. One of them, which we got to work with, or Mark got to work with the town to fill out, and that's the Maya insurance form. So there were some boxes on there that we would like to be able to check, and in order to do so, this upgrading the infrastructure helps us check those boxes. And what's unique about our model is that we don't actually sell the gear to the town. It's all, we go out and find third-party vendors who can resell the hardware. So we truly believe the Cisco Meraki product is what's going to be best for Hatfield from, again, a security standpoint. So making sure that we're not having to respond to a bunch of security incidents all the time. And then from a reliability standpoint, and making sure that things aren't going down and we're not just constantly experiencing slow Wi-Fi or things like that. So that 37,000, which, like Mark said, is there's going to be further discounting that comes. It's just that we have to work with vendors, position them against each other, and over time we can get that price down. But the highest possible price would be with 37,000. And that's to cover, that's the Wi-Fi, that's to put in an infrastructure that would allow us to start moving away from that server per se that's in the physical building. And then also the security appliance / firewall, which is think of that as the front door that's protecting your network. And that's now protecting a lot of things, HVAC. I don't think your lighting control is connected to the internet yet, but everything's becoming connected to the internet. So that's really what that's doing.
Okay, that's fine, but I mean, what is the hardware we're talking about? You're talking about 10 more workstations, you're talking, what are we?
Separate from that, though, right? The workstations is separate from.
Yeah, so that $37,000 mark, let's see, I think you just forwarded me that quote, actually.
Yeah.
You want like a breakdown of like 12 access points, like that type of?
Sure.
Yeah, so it's,
I'm pretty much in the dark, I'll admit it, so the more information you give me, the better chance I have of understanding what you're talking about.
yeah, so we're covering, then let me actually pull up a sheet that makes more sense. But it's encompassing, I think this is, I apologize, I should have had this up.
You're fine.
So we're,
That's what you
yep, so we're covering the security, switching. Switching is, think of it like a power strip that spreads the network out physically, and then Wi-Fi, which is what allows these things to work. We're covering that for that 37,000. You're covering town hall, police and fire, the highway department, water, and wastewater. So it should be all town buildings. And this is going to improve your security posture pretty significantly from especially Maya's perspective. There were some check boxes on there that this is going to allow us to check.
So, I mean, what kind of hardware we're covering all these places, but are you installing a Wi-Fi system? Or, I mean, I'm not the brightest light bulb when it comes to IT stuff, so if you want me to sell this to the town that we should spend $37,000, I just want to have an understanding of what exactly we're getting for that kind of money. It sounds like it's not a bad idea to upgrade our infrastructure. I'm all for that. I just want to know what are we paying for, that's all.
Yep, it's 4 firewalls, with 5 years of what they call advanced security. So that's Cisco's AMP, which is Advanced Malware Protection product. That's what's going to keep everything like really safe. And it has some of the tools that are like industry standard for protecting enterprise level networks. There will be 5 48-port PoE switches. So those are, like I said, kind of like think of those as your power strips that are allowing everything to plug into the network and get funneled out to the internet. And then we're looking at 8 Wi-Fi 6 wireless access points, and that's to cover the buildings. Some of the smaller buildings, I guess I'll add, like the wastewater and water department and highway department. Their firewall or security appliance is kind of an all-in-one device, so it does Wi-Fi, switching, and security. Just because they're smaller sites, it didn't make sense to spread it all out per se, because we're trying to cover like 1 or 2 rooms. Where a building like this, we're putting in 3 wireless access points to cover this space.
How is that covered now under our present system?
It's a
Plugging
mix.
into the wall?
Yeah, so it's a mix of systems. There's like 3 different brands here, 3 or 4, and they're of varying age. And it's kind of, I think, been purchased, which is pretty typical of towns. It's been purchased like as it breaks, right?
Yep.
So we're trying to
Piecemeal.
piecemeal. So we're trying to move you into a system where you know that every, typically we say every 5 years, this stuff should just be cycled out. That should ensure that it's being it's compatible with the latest laptops that are coming out. It's compatible with the latest security software that's needed. So we're trying to have you buy all of it at once and have it on a rotating cycle. And we've seen towns do that one of 2 ways: buy it all at once, or Cisco, there's a state contract for it, but Cisco has a lease program. You're virtually still paying the full $36,000 out, but you can lease it from them, so that way there it breaks into chunks in the budget. It's really whatever works best for you guys.
But it's a one-time $36,000 that should last us 5 years.
Correct.
So, just so I'm clear, because it almost sounded like we're having 2 different conversations. One was to get off the server and go to cloud services. Is that part of this particular 36,000, or is this 36,000 regarding the workstations and the access points and all of that?
So think of it like a multi-step process, right? So
Are we talking 35,000? I don't mean to sound rude or interrupt you. Are we talking 35,000 or 70,000 for what we've talked about so far tonight?
So the 70,000 is the complete.
Yeah, it's actually more than that.
It's more than that.
Yeah.
So one of them is moving off the server, which I agree with, by the way, to get rid of as much hardware and failure that could possibly happen. I just wanted to make sure, because the numbers were so close of the 2 different conversations that you were having, that I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware, as I thought, that they were really 2 separate conversations.
So this 37,000 for the network infrastructure is a portion of your IT budget.
Right. Yep, I get it. So lots of times we say things, lots of times we have conversations because this is going out to the townspeople, and it's only the 7 of us that are in here. So that's why we ask certain questions that we may know the answer to. It's not to be fresh or being wise guy. It's to make sure that everybody who's watching understands. Because if we thought of it, chances are somebody on TV thought of it.
Yep.
And then we'll get the call tomorrow. So. So we're actually talking, one is I believe, the IT budget like we've always had.
Right.
And the other about moving off the server onto the cloud
right.
is
That is specific. Yes.
its own activity or its own project.
Yeah, so this network, I paint the network as like the foundation, right? So the town currently does have an Office 365 license, which covers most of those cloud services. But there's some things that we haven't been able to move all the way to the cloud just because the network hasn't been like fast enough. Like there's some
Robust.
this hasn't been robust enough to support like a smooth transition to the cloud. So this network hardware probably should have been done before they started dipping their toes at all into the cloud.
Right.
But so this is the foundation. So we're getting this done, and then that's going to allow us to continue the process to get you guys 100% off of a server in the building, and things moved fully into the cloud. And that's through things like your Office 365 licensing, Acronis, which is more of like a backup software for both cloud services. And if like one or two things remains in the building, there may be like one or two very specific things that remain here just because they aren't compatible with the cloud platform yet. But we've assessed, and I don't think there was anything left here. Typically, it's like dog licensing software. That's one app that we see a lot of towns in this area have that has to stay on site, and then we just use an app called Acronis that makes sure that stuff's getting backed up off-site and not here. But the goal is to get you guys away from that capital investment of needing a physical server all the time, because you're making that investment now into the cloud with Office 365. So that network hardware / server line of we're going to call it one number, 30. We'll say 36,000.
Yep.
So that line for 36,000, that is that's the foundation. It's going to allow us to move forward with closing out some of the other initiatives that town departments have started.
So
Thank you.
is the 36 new money? So I just
Yes.
asked, so I pulled up Marlene's technology budget
Right.
that you submitted, that Marlene submitted. And so what is any part of what they're talking about going to be covered under?
Right, and that
this
was the purpose.
current- your current contract?
Right. That was,
Or is this, sorry,
no, go ahead, Daryl.
or is
Sorry to
this
interrupt.
all new money?
Well, some of it will have to be new money, and so that was the purpose of the discussion last week, and Mark was also going to, I provided him with some additional information since our meeting last week. So if you remember, we added a significant amount of money to the current fiscal year's budget, just to do a server remote backup. That was going to cost us about $2,031, and then there was the annual cloud backup one-year retention, which was about $6,900. So we didn't do that. So that money is in the current operating budget. So the way I'm looking at this is that, there is some money that was added to this year's budget for, so let's say an upgrade, call it, upgrade, that could be put towards
Which would offset.
offset some, so.
The initial, because we have to spend the initial 36 to get all the
Right.
stuff up the code, grade, whatever you call it, and then once that's done, then we can think about doing the server, which is gonna cost another, what?
35, 36.
Another
No, that is, so, yeah, we're kind of making this more complicated, I think, than it needs to be. If we look at everything that's being proposed, which includes the $36,000 for the infrastructure upgrade, we're talking about $86,000. Okay? If you break the 36,000 over 5 years, then that total number comes down.
Right.
All right, to closer to where your annual budget is today. I think, Marlene, you had mentioned it's somewhere around the 70 or
77, yeah.
77,000.
So you're talking about an $86,000
Right.
budget.
But your request for this year, sorry, is for 80,000.
So you're going to see already through
it
some
is.
of the work that we've done, a reduction in things that you had budgeted for this year, because you're not going to need certain licensing and things like that. So as we upgrade you, some of those costs that you incurred last year are going to go away.
Right.
So that's where that's where you see some trade-off in the overall budget.
Right.
What this $86,000 will cover is your complete one-time cost for infrastructure upgrade with all the hardware that supports the network here. 20% of your workstations, which is about $7,500. Software licensing on an annual basis for Office 365, which everybody's using, and that's about $6,000, is $5,900 a year to cover all that licensing. Our services, which are $25,000 for the year, and a Cronus software licensing that Adam spoke about. That's for backups.
Then internet.
And it moves us to the cloud and eliminates the server,
Yeah.
the
And then-
physical hardware server.
Yep.
And then you have ISP charges
Yeah.
for the internet for four of the facilities.
Yeah.
The 4 facilities are water, wastewater,
DPW.
DPW,
Town hall.
And town hall.
and town hall. So doesn't include library, doesn't include school. We're never part of the
No,
school stuff.
no.
Okay, all right.
And the library gets theirs.
Library is separate.
CW Mars.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the $86,000, part of that could be, so I'll just use a round number. So it's 35,000 of the 86
Yes.
can be spread over 5 years.
Correct.
So the 86 could drop to 79 this year,
So that would be
Roughly.
73,
Right.
25.
roughly, 78 something.
Well, and
Yeah.
But then we'd still have $28,000 that we have to pay over the next 4 years. So, when we get to that part of the conversation,
Yeah.
it's, do you pay me now, do you pay me later? And is there any interest on that if we spread it over 5 years?
Zero interest.
Zero
Right,
interest.
yeah, zero
Yeah.
interest.
It's a
So I
good
just want
number.
to say, Daryl, you were asking about my budget. So this budget was submitted before I had met with
Right.
Mark last week. But there is an increase for '23, and that's for about $3,000. Archive Social, which now provides support services for all our social media sites, and that's about $3,000 a year, support services. So that was added to the technology budget.
Okay.
So here's the numbers for you. We'll use round numbers. 87,000 to pay for the network up front, and then it was 57. That's for the annual budget for next year, and then or it could drop to 57,000 if it's broken out over 5 years.
Plus 20% of 35,000, right?
Nope, 57,000 included 7,000 for the network line, and that would be breaking out over 5 years. That would bring a more consistent budget per se, but it all comes down to how the town wants to do it.
Right.
I've seen it done
Sure.
so many different ways. As long as the town's comfortable knowing that 36,000 is going to be coming up every 5 years. I do know that it is easier when we don't have to go through Cisco Capital. They tend to be a little bit more aggressive on the pricing if it's bought up front. Again,
Right.
it's a smaller order, so
Yeah.
it's not like we're dealing with a $1 million order where there's more moving parts. So it's really up to you guys. So I think I can get 1 or 2% more off if you pay up front, and we don't have to go through the whole process of going through Cisco Capital, probably. But you're saving 1 or 2%, possibly.
Thank you. Makes sense.
Yeah, no, well, so let me just, because I got fog brain. So your proposed budget right now, without these guys, is 80,363.
Right.
If we add what they're doing, what does it do to this budget? Is it just $7,000 more than this? Does it make it 87,000, or is it more than that?
Well, it's 87 with these guys, but I think Marlene mentioned that, is there the 3,000 for
So-
social media?
It is.
Right, but
On
that,
top of that, right?
Correct.
that's
So now you're
why,
up to 10.
that's why
So we
I'm
have to cover
saying,
that.
you know, I'm just looking at the final number. So what will that number look like? 80,000 to what? It'll be,
116-ish.
I was just going to say, you're talking about adding
Her whole
Yeah.
budget, her whole telecom, right?
116.
What's not part of that, Darryl, I think, is moving to the cloud services. Is that right?
It is. The
That's part of it?
that 87,000 includes the network equipment, buying it up
Yeah,
front.
oh, we know what that, though. We're referring strictly to Marlene's budget, though, that has other aspects to
So
it.
we know about 7,000,
Thank
so we know about I don't know if we want to
so
get into
in
nickel and
this
diamond,
80,
but
in this
8,000.
80,000, if we didn't do
There's about
anything
8,000 that we could use towards
towards that.
that cost to do the network
So
infrastructure
in this
work.
budget, if we didn't change anything, what do we pay them next year? If we didn't change anything?
What do you mean pay them for, as far as contract services?
Yeah, what's their contract?
You said it was 25,000, right?
5,000 with or without the network upgrade, like it's flat rate.
Right, that's separate.
Right, and that's not broken out in here, okay.
That would be in, yeah, we
Would
have
that be in the
support.
technology services?
Yeah, it wasn't free before, so there has to be money in there somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, the support services, that number on the first page at the
Mm-hmm.
top, yeah, their cost, their
That's-
contract cost is built in there.
Is built into
Right,
there.
so we're just
So if we-
looking at the network
If we
infrastructure.
broke it out over 5 years, though, based on what you just said, and I'm not sure I'm understanding it 100% correctly, we would really only need to come up with about $2,000 beyond this, because we would need a couple of $1,000 to cover the social thing.
Right.
And there's $8,000 in there that we could use.
Correct.
So if we did break it up over 5 years, we would only have to come up with about $2,000 in addition to what?
More, right.
That's what I was trying to figure out, so the 80 might be.
That's if we pay it over 5 years.
Might be 82, if we pay
If
it
you
over,
don't pay it over 5 years, then we gotta come up with a.
Right,
then it
That's what I
becomes
thought you
Well, not even
116.
right.
We only have to come up with like,
7.
Right,
well, no,
well-
30, 32,000,
28.
31,000
Yeah.
or something, or, yeah.
say that again, Sean?
What is it? It would be, there's 8,000, so 37, so it would be 31, but
That we would have,
would that mean, maybe 29, but then we have two more, right? We'd have to come up with for social, whatever it is, so it'd be 31. If we paid for it up front, it would be 31 on top of what Marlene has.
So, yeah, so the 31 over the 80, that gets it to that 116 or whatever.
Ish.
Social support services is already in,
Oh,
So,
is it?
yeah.
So-
you
Oh,
really
so you
just
don't
add
even
the-
need that.
yeah.
so
so you're talking about 82,363, Sean,
just out of curiosity,
if we had two.
if we,
Nice.
this is a once in a 5-year thing, is this something at all we would consider upfronting this with free cash, because we wouldn't have to pay it for another 5 years, or?
Certainly consider anything. Yeah. The only question is, in my mind right now, is it has to go through capital planning,
Why does it have to go? It's not.
Cost,
because it's over $10,000 and it lasts 5 years.
yeah. Yeah,
Right, and it, what it made,
Zero interest.
It
That's a
made-
good thing.
yeah.
it made me think about the Chromebooks to school and the fire,
Right.
the turnout gear. It's kinda in that
It's a similar thing.
similar thing, but to your point, maybe it's a pain in the neck to do it through these guys, but if they give us 0% for 5 years, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, you'd have to think of what, 1 or 2% on what, $35,000? If, when you said something about paying it up front, that it was that portion of it. So let's just call it 35, unless it's less than that, to make it an even number. So 1 or 2% is $350, right?
$700 maybe.
So is it worth not getting that discount to split it up over an additional 4 years or not, right? I mean, that's kind of the question.
I'd rather see it split up, so, because it's just like your other leases.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just have to remember that it's there.
Yeah.
You're saying we're all gonna be sitting here 5 years from now?
Every now and then we get bit, and we all say we remember certain things the following year.
I know, that's,
I know Sharon wants to make a comment.
If you, I would, from our financial standpoint, say build it in, because in 5 years, they're gonna say we're gonna need to do this again.
That's
So if we
what I was
already build
concerned
it in 5 years, Marlene's not coming to you for a 7,000, she's taking it in little increments each year. So I think that's where Brian was kind of going with it,
Well-
one option versus the other, is that it's kind of built in.
Well, yes and no, because I was thinking that the $35,000 we were talking about splitting up was for getting rid of the server and moving to the cloud. Or is it about the equipment you're going to install?
It's about the equipment.
It's about the
It's with
equipment.
About everything.
Okay, so if we're doing 20%,
Right.
so if we're doing 20% of the equipment now,
Different.
that leaves 80% that we're not going to upgrade for 4 more years?
No,
No,
no.
it's a lease.
Right?
It's a lease, we're doing,
So we,
Go ahead.
no, so the cost is all that's amortized over 5 years. The hardware is all done up front. We get all new hardware, we come in,
Cisco
we
gives you
replace
credit.
everything that
Yeah.
you have here today.
But it's not our desktop stations.
It's-
So you're
it's the
still going to
infrastructure.
do 20% of your workstations.
Well, that's my point. So it,
you're
we,
upgrading
that's my point. So that's why I want to make sure we're all talking apples and apples. So, right, the 20% upgrade is on equipment.
So think of it as
You're adding things, but,
there's 2 initiatives. So initiative
Yes.
1 is the network upgrade.
Yep.
That's going to be done 100%, whether you choose to pay
the network,
Yep.
understood.
Then there's initiative number 2,
Yep.
which is the workstations.
Yes.
It never makes sense to lease or finance out workstations. Maybe if you have like 2 workstations, but even then it's like just
Right.
buy them.
Yeah, because they become obsolete.
They get cheaper.
So the workstations, we build in a plan where the town is replacing 20% every year. Some workstations, maybe in low volume spots, and maybe what we do is maybe Marlene's on a 4-year replacement cycle, and her workstation gets moved somewhere else for 2 years. But like the goal is to replace 20% every year,
Right.
so that way their machines aren't aging out.
Yeah, totally get it. I just
that-
wanted to,
Yep.
So
that initiative,
Kinda
that's
hear it.
kind of like across the board what we do
Right.
for all the towns, is just recommend aiming at 20%. And if it's a really bad fiscal year and we can only do, I mean, you guys are talking 6 workstations a year.
Right.
So if it's a bad fiscal year, maybe we're only going to do 5 that year, but in a year we're going to catch up with 7. But it allows us to kind of play with it.
Sure.
And we have been working, that has been our goal for years now,
Yes.
to replace, stay on top of it and replace the workstations. And Suzer is recommending, 20% of the inventory each year. So that's
makes sense.
the goal.
Yeah, and I think a good point to remember too is like our services stays exactly the same.
Right.
So what you are always paying us stays identical, whether you make these investments in security and stuff. So put us to work, I guess, and per se. And
Yeah.
if you do these initiatives, like we're going to come in and do them because it helps us out. Because like our goal is to make sure that you're not having security incidents and that people have as much uptime as possible. So we're not responding to as many urgent or out of the ordinary types of requests. So whether you go through with this, like our costs stay the same. And we do go out to like other vendors on your behalf and working with Marlene to get you the best price and best quotes. It's not us selling it to the town. So for us, we're doing this out of like what we think is truly best for the town.
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So you're here tonight as part of our overall larger budget conversation for the town, just in case you're wondering why we haven't, moved forward with anything or whatever. So,
Oh, no, this, and if you have any other questions, let us know.
thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll be
appreciate it.
glad to give you more detail or help explain stuff.
Just, when we replace the workstations, what would we intend to replace them with?
So it depends on where it's going. I mean, most people now, and I think thankfully for us, saying thankfully, COVID happened in a way that saying that we're going to replace people with laptops, with we get these monitors that have docking stations built into them. So for most people, that makes sense,
Yeah.
especially like your fire chief, your town administrator, the people that are moving. There's gonna be some positions that we typically go with like an all-in-one workstation, but that's typically what we're going with. As far as brand, which we're brand agnostic, but right now it's just Dell's business line is typically what we've gone with.
Interesting. Okay.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you guys.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you, Mark.
Nice meeting you.
Thanks, Dad.
My turn. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you.
So before we move on, do we require any more further discussion on this proposal or on that?
It should be part of our overall budget outlook as we go forward.
Okay.
See how it, I mean, it's like a lot of things, everything sounds like a good idea until we see how much.
So you add them all up?
Yeah, yeah, right, yes, very good. Yes.
Individually, they're great.
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
Okay, the next topic under topic 3 would be collector treasurer.
I think
So-
Diane had a question, so I didn't wanna. Was she asking a question?
No, we're
Oh,
good.
okay.
Yeah, Sharon's just doing her budget.
Okay, so, hi, everybody, sorry I missed you last week. I am back,
Excuse me.
better than ever. So, I'm not going to bore you too long, but I have lots of pieces of papers in front of you to go through, so I think I left one for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't miss anybody. So, I did my little cover letter, you don't have to read it right now, but at least you'll have it for when you go back through, because we're just gonna go page by page. So the first budget, I have 12 budgets to go over, but most of them are pretty quick, so there's some that are really long, so it kind of goes back and forth. What?
Just 12?
Just 12. I know, I feel like I have a lot. The first one that I have in our budget is, what's that?
Did you give us, is this stuff from last week too?
No, I haven't given you anything,
That's the new one I think you have, Daryl.
because I wasn't here last
We
week. to
may
print it.
have.
I think we
given you
gave
copies
something,
ahead.
but
Something was given to
Yeah.
us last
Ignore
week.
whatever, because it did came from me, but it wasn't done, because I was out
Right.
sick, so you don't have my stuff.
Well, it was what you had submitted to me, the
A
budget
lot,
you had
yeah, but we've
submitted
made
to
a
me.
lot of changes since Marlene with the,
Right.
especially
Yep.
the loans in particularly, so this is the freshest, newest, best information. I didn't realize that she had submitted.
Latest
stuff
and
before.
greatest.
Latest and greatest, it's got, I printed it with the date on it at the bottom, so you can tell what version it is.
Yep.
4 or 5.
4 or 5. So the first one is tax title. I'd like to, when I'm here, this is a good time to just catch you guys up on where we are with tax title at the same time, because we don't get in front of each other very often about this type of stuff. So we're in a good sense in that we've made a lot of progress versus when I've gotten here, but we still have 38 accounts in tax title through last June. If you remember, we only put things in tax title once a year, so it's kind of that ongoing process. COVID hurt us a little bit because I have 15 parcels that in land court that we're currently waiting on decisions to be made. Some are close to foreclosure on properties. That's when the people finally start listening to us and action kind of happens. I have a parcel that it's actually 3 parcels, 1 owner in that situation that's finally got to the place in land court where the owner is being notified, and so now they're making rectifications to try to settle with the town because they have the threat against them. Unfortunately, I hate that it has to come to that, but that's where we get some of our movement. So I'm hoping that actually we'll have some of those ones on land court come off this year. We have 10 parcels that are in payment plans. We have 1 parcel that it's been discovered that we actually own and have owned it for like 30 years, but no one ever did the homework to do it. So by the end of this fiscal year, that'll be off of our rolls and into our tax possession. It's a part of, what is the name of that cemetery, Bob? If you go on down North Hatfield Road, and there's a little old cemetery right there, it's next to that on West Street. There's part of that that'll become partial town. We have 9 parcels of land of low value, which I hope to have cleared up by the end of this fiscal year also. The process for that is supposed to be done yearly, but it's one of those things that hasn't been done since way before I got here, so we've got to backtrack a little bit to get them cleared up, and so those are all under $20,000 worth of value, so we can just take them and they'll become town property. And then we can come to you guys with a list for the select board to say, and the assessors, hey, we do want these, or these actually are worth something, maybe we want to auction them off, because we don't want to sit on land that we don't necessarily want to use. And then
So just so I understand it, so these parcels of low value, or any of these parcels, these are all parcels where they have failed, the owner has failed to pay their taxes.
Exactly. So if you looked in the paper 2 weeks ago, there was an article, and I didn't even know the land court had put it in for us, for 2 that we're talking about foreclosing on. These are ones that there's not even anyone active with the properties, but they have to go through all the steps. But some of them are worth some fair amount of money that the town could then sell it and get it back on the tax roll. So, like I said, it's just a good opportunity to show you where you at. There's still $670,000 in receivables out there that we could, go after. You can see in 22, I've only brought in 85,000, but 21, which is part of why free cash is so good, I brought $415,000 worth of tax title revenue in. So it's a good revenue stream in one sense, but you want it to dry up because you want people to be paying their bills and not be in this scenario. Unfortunately, the ones that we're looking at right now are the hardest case, like you kind of deal with the easy ones first. So I've asked for an additional $5,000 in my budget to kind of supplement the legal fees that go with this. The good news is it kind of comes back to the town once the people settle. And I use some of that money. You can actually see in my column. I've already spent $25,000 this year, but I've been able to supplement my budget using the fees I'm bringing in. But the last ones are the hardest ones to try to clean up. So that's tax title, pretty cut and dry otherwise. Did anybody have any questions on tax title? Okay. The next one is one of those ones that's a fixed amount based on the Hampshire County retirement for the match that we have to give in. I would like to make the same option that we have made in the past, that we make one payment in July of $764,816. It is a 12% increase, but it's a formula that is assigned to us. We have to provide them with information, so it's not a negotiable cost. So that is a set already in my budget, has to get paid. Any questions on that one?
How close are we being fully funded now? So like,
Not close. For retirement, it's a yearly match, so.
no, but at some point, like, we pay more than it actually costs.
Oh,
At some point,
but we're not anywhere near that.
10, 15 years,
Yeah.
right? Still? I was just curious, because, we're on an actuarial timetable to
Yeah.
eventually become.
Eventually,
fully
but
funded.
I think it was, the last time I saw something, it was 12 years was the number, because it's a moving target, but
Well,
are
that's
any of
not-
us gonna be sitting here?
That's not too
Too
bad,
bad.
considering
That's-
where you started.
That's true, that's true. That is very true.
I was just a child.
The next, if there's nothing else with that one, unemployment, I level funded. Consider, obviously, if we make changes in budgets and positions get eliminated anywhere, that changes. But our standard number is $20,000. If we don't use it, it goes into an account, a revolving account, so that if we do have a really bad year, like the COVID year, we have some money to look into. So we're currently at $9,264,000 for the year through March right now. So I hope that we don't have too much more go on this year, but you just never can tell. Luckily, I'm not currently fighting any cases there, but I obviously fight them as much as I possibly can. The next one is health insurance, which seems to be out of order in mine.
I have treasurers.
Yeah, I have
Okay, good.
treasurer's
That's what I
expense.
have too, because the health insurance,
The group insurance, is that?
yes,
The
but
title?
that's later, so that's
Yeah.
okay, good. I wasn't sure, I have it listed on this sheet one way,
You
and
do,
then this.
yep.
So I apologize. Let's stick with treasurer's expenses. The actual budget for the treasurer expense is level funded, except for the 20,000 that we talked about for the payroll conversion, that we really like to get it from free cash, but we had to plug it into a budget somewhere. It's a one-time expense, so that you'll see on the bottom part, additional one-time payroll request. So that will be set for the conversion this July.
So Sean, is this the same thing as the discussion does this have to go to capital? Right, because it's just like what we talked
The
about
payroll
with the
conversion,
software.
yeah.
But this is to pay for a second payroll. You're not paying for a
Right, you're not
tangible
paying for
item.
service.
We're just paying
You're paying
Tyler
for a
and we're
service.
paying for the new Harpers. We're paying for two different payroll
Doesn't
vendors.
last more than 5 years, so no.
It's a one-time, I have
It
to
would last
run
1
both
year,
payrolls.
technically.
I'm good with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, no, because you're thinking about.
I don't want it to have to.
Yeah, you're just
do-
paying for an overlapping service.
Service.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the overlap.
Overlap,
Yeah.
so that you have,
Yeah,
you're
so
paying
you
for
can have the
Tyler
payroll, yeah.
and for Harpers. We just had to plug it in somewhere so
Yep.
that it got
Yeah.
accounted
Yeah,
for, so.
and it technically is an expense.
It is
because
an
it's
expense,
outside
but
contractor.
it's a one-time, not,
Right.
we try to not list the
We're
free
good.
cash stuff on the budget, so when that's
Yeah,
one of the
it's
changes
under
from
the
us.
same thing as when we had the consulting
Yeah.
in the treasurer's office or
That's
whatever.
exactly,
Yeah.
so it's a one-time of expense for this year. The next one I have is collector's expense. That has a little bit of an increase for postage and financial services and software. It's 2,000 through the whole budget, just to bring us, keep going with Vadar costs for our different departments. So we took it, no other department saw an increase for Vadar except for this one. We took the expense and divided it all out here. So that one I don't think is too confusing unless anybody has questions about that one. Then the next one I have is treasurer salaries, level funded. I'm in negotiations for my contract, so if anything happens with that, I just have it listed. Lucky me. Same thing with collector salary, so just to keep it organized, we pay out of the treasurer's line my salary and the office workers. To keep it for expense purposes, Patty, my assistant, her whole salary comes out of the collector's line. So that's the separation. There could be some conversation that you could at some point, if you're really gonna keep them together, and I think that's what we're gonna do, you could combine all of that together. And so you could get rid of a bunch of lines of budget. But if we wanna keep seeing how profitable that department is, that's why we kind of have kept them separate for now. So, questions on that one? Nope. So a new one in front of you, if it's right, is OPEB liability. I have suggested that we the liability is like $10 million. It's gonna take us forever and a day. We do have the approval that we got at town meeting to start this liability fund, and it's certainly something that you see on the audit, you hear Zelli talk about. I don't think it's a great year to throw a lot of money into, but I think we have to make an effort so that they can see that we're trying, that we're acknowledging that it needs to be there, because it's the post-cost benefits that need to be sitting in an account. So I've suggested $10,000. You could use free cash for this, but we don't like to use operating expenses for free cash for operating expenses, but it is a possibility that you can do for that one. The next one.
Sorry, excuse me.
Yep.
So Sharon, or is it too early to know? So are you thinking at probably 10,000 a year, or a minimum of 10,000 a year?
$10,000 a year.
As
with the
we-
hope that
To build
we
it
can
up.
To start to build it up. It's low. It's
100
certainly
years.
low, but.
In 100 years, we'll have our
But if you look
$10
at,
million.
I've had the privilege of seeing the rest of the documents, so I know where things are kind of at, that I felt that was at least got us in the starting
Yeah,
conversation.
got to start somewhere.
It's an interesting sort of philosophical conversation in a way about, what does making a token effort towards OPEB actually get you in the long run?
It gets us a good report with the auditor that we're making an effort to do it, which,
Right,
yes,
Yeah, just that
right.
we.
DOR likes that, and we're trying to,
Take care of it.
and by 5
Exactly.
years of being here, next month, that this is one of those things that they kept saying,
Just
oh,
be
we weren't getting
interesting to
it.
see what, what kind of earnest effort other people are making.
So I asked Lori, Marlene can tell you that the last time she was here, and she said other towns are actually putting more money into it if they have it. It's one of those things that her advice is, you've got to start somewhere. You're not gonna, if you're a town that has a lot of money, that's a different conversation. We're not that town.
I just always think that the scope of a problem in terms of dollars and how widespread it is
Yeah.
makes a big difference about how it gets solved potentially.
True,
If
but I
Hatfield's
think-
the only town that has a serious OPEB problem, then I'd say, oh, absolutely, we have to immediately begin addressing it because we're going to be in trouble. But, when widespread disaster strikes, like, there tend to be answers.
So, just remind me, OPEB, what is it?
Other
stand?
Health insurance
post-employment,
for
Benefits.
retirees, basically, and benefits. But
Other-
most-
So the town voted a few years
post-employee
ago.
benefits, which in our world really means retirement. So you retire from the town and you are on our, we have 39 in this thing. We have
Okay.
39 retirees on our insurance that we're paying
It's
for.
not retirement, though.
Other post-employee benefits, so it
Right.
can be, so when there's.
It's
for
their health
example-
insurance.
It's did I say retirement?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought.
It's health
did say
insurance.
retirement.
It's their
Yeah.
health insurance.
There were health insurance for retirees is what I was
Retirees,
trying
I was gonna
to
say,
say.
I know there's retirees tied to it
And it's health
somehow.
insurance also for people who have not yet retired.
True, and but it's also for their spouses, because we
Right.
have people who stay on.
Yep.
Sean's point, it's a much bigger deal than me, and I'm never going to solve it all.
Right.
I'm just giving you
But-
advice
but
based on me.
We already pay that, right?
And
So what is this, protecting the town in case we can't pay it?
Well, it's future liability, so.
So we have a
People are
study,
going to
yeah.
retire tomorrow and the next day and next month and next year. And eventually, we're gonna have so many living retirees that are collecting health insurance that we're no longer gonna be able to afford to pay it.
And so this government got involved, and they made this OPED, in part of Marlene's budget, there's an OPED, a study that we have to have every year that's required by DOR.
Right.
And part of that says to us every year, we get our hands smacked that we haven't made any attempt at it. So the first attempt was, okay, let's start a fund. And then the second token thing is to put some money towards it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we throw lots of money at it, but I will say I do think it's important to start somewhere
Right.
to have some kind of, here, we tried,
The thing that, we're trying to head off eventual disaster way down the road for a lot of people, not just everybody,
Right.
And, but we're not really 100% committed to actually doing that. We're more like recognizing it and naming it and saying it's out there, we have to deal with it. But there's no law, you'll notice, that's requiring you to do it yet.
Right.
So,
Well, those of us that are self-employed, we're just, when you retire, you gotta figure out your insurance on your own, you're not.
right. Well, I think.
I was just going to add a little bit of background. I don't know,
State's got a
some people
pretty
on the
good
Finance Committee may not recall, but the Division of Local Services had worked with the town to pretty much recreate our financial policies. It was through the Community Compact Initiative.
Yep.
And so we updated our financial policies, and Division of Local Services recommended that, one of many things they had recommended, but that we create an OPEB trust fund. And the town voted to do that.
Yeah, that was our
a
first
few years
step.
ago. That's the first step. And then, as Sharon had said, then to start funding it. And the auditor has recommended that. And we have last 2 years now, I think we've had the GASB 75 study. There's one that's 75, and there's another. It's different reporting each year.
Yeah. One's much more detailed than the other, so you get an off year and then the next year's.
Right. And every year they ask us, have we funded that?
So do we have an actual schedule to get that, what it would take to get fully funded? And obviously, every year we don't fund it
Marlene can tell you,
adequately.
I have asked for that, and then basically they said, you don't want to know those numbers. We are just expecting you, like, Sean, I'm sorry, but this is,
No, I
You know.
understand. I'm not, this is not about you.
we're going into a much deeper conversation
Yeah,
of bigger problems that we just need to make an effort. I would be fine with 5. Lori and I came up with 10 based on what her other communities. I said, hey, you have a better knowledge than I do of what other people are doing. And she said 10 she was comfortable with that number because it looks like we're making an effort towards it.
Yeah.
And hey, if we have a year, we have money, great, but is that this year? No. So that, I have added that as a new line in my kind of realm, just because I don't want it to get lost in all the other things we're doing. So, any other questions about OPEB liability?
So where does this money go? Do you have a separate account?
Yep, exactly, so it'll get separate,
It
it'll
just
go
sits
there.
there and
Yep, and accrues interest, and it'll go into the MMDT and sit there, so.
Yeah, we set it up and
What?
When
We
did
set
we
up the account, I think it was 2 town meetings ago that we set up the account, there's just nothing in it, so it's not actually, I have the approval to set up the account, which I did get credit for, so we're thankful for that, but we want to keep moving forward.
honestly, that was the
Baby
easy
steps.
part.
I know, hey, listen, the fact that you say that, but for years, nobody did anything about anything,
That's
so.
true, that's true.
I'm gonna take credit where I can.
Yeah.
The next one that, do you have Medicare next, or do you have group insurance next? All right, this is always a headache for everybody to look at. Brian can tell you, because we've had many conversations about this as the year has gone on already. So you've got your basic cover sheet, and then I gave you the supplemental information. I'm just gonna give you from a really bird's eye view, because there's a lot of numbers on there. We had made the choice last year, thankfully, to match 55 versus 50-50. So that's our current match if you look at the sheet. The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns are based on our actual numbers through March. I reran them today so that we could see, how, if things had moved in the positive or the negative with our employees and how many of them are on our insurance. So our current request for this year is $600,000. I think it's partially because we have matched 55%. We actually now, if you look on the back, we have 8 more employees taking health insurance through the town, which is good in one sense. It costs us a little bit more, but it means they're using the services that we have available to them. We did have 1 more full-time position added this year for 22 that it, factored into these numbers. The employee didn't take it, but we had to calculate that in. So I'm recommending for FY23 that we don't increase our match any higher, that we stay at our 45% funding, and to do that would cost around $47,000 more next year than it was this year. Because of the additional people we have on, there is no increase in insurance costs. That is confirmed, it's been voted on, so there's no increase, the premiums aren't changing, nothing like that has happened. It's just the fact that more people are taking the benefits, which is good. We do have in the potential from 2 different departments for requests for new full-time positions. So I just wanted to make sure that got noted on here, that if you guys decide to approve those full-time positions, then we would have to even look at that number a little different. So I even put in there what that 14,000 would look like if those 3 new positions were added to the departments. Like I said, it's a lot of numbers, but I think it's good information for you to have. It's probably more than you need, but I think it's important because you can see what it would do to us if we went into a 60-40 or a 70-30, that we're just not in the financial place to do that right now, and be full transparent for you guys to be able to say, we looked at it again, because all of our employees ask us to do that, and we want to be as fair as we can be. So I'm just asking for an increase of $47,000 to get us where I think we need to be for next year. It's a guessing game. It always is. I've gotten lucky in my time being here that we've had a little extra money there at the end of the year, but you just don't know. So that's my guesstimate for my conservative guesstimate for 23.
Before you put that sheet away,
Yep.
just so we say it out loud, so that everyone can hear us.
Yep.
So the insurance includes full-time employees
Yep.
who choose to take
Take it.
it, and retirees
Yep.
who choose to take
Take
it.
it.
Okay, so we currently have departments looking for 3 additional full-time personnel.
Yep.
And if those people take it, it's roughly $5,000 per employee per
Yep.
year. So would that be a fair assessment of the breakdown? It's about $5,000 that the town contributes per year per employee?
It goes down a little
rough-
bit, up or down based on, because it's whether they get the single plan or the family.
Yeah,
Because there's that big jump.
but we're in that
So we're in that
vicinity.
vicinity of
Okay.
that number,
All
so
right.
exactly.
Well, I think sometimes we talk a big number, and, which is important, but then I think we need to break it down a little bit. When I say we, I mean, just as we're talking
Yeah, of
about it.
course.
So people understand what the cost is
Yeah.
to the town.
Exactly.
And I trust me, I believe health insurance is very, very important. But it's also very, very expensive, so.
And we have really good,
wanted
and we
to-
have really good insurance. I'm very
Yeah.
thankful that, you know, our insurance is not the cheapest, but we don't have a lot of copays, we don't have any deductibles on some of it, so it's good insurance. It's just, you know,
Yeah.
we're not,
It's expensive.
it's expensive.
Earn my insurance. I can tell you
Thank you,
that.
Daryl.
Yeah.
I'd like you to tell that to more people, so.
Sharon, I like the breakdown, actually. Thank you for doing it that
You're
way.
welcome. I hope that makes sense, but if you have questions when you get back to it. The next one is Medicare. Is that what you have next?
Yes.
Okay, so the last 2 years, we've run short on this budget, just with the percentage, the estimates for, you know, the salary lines. So I let it be last year because I wanted to see if it was an anomaly or whether we were really underfunded. And it's running almost the exact amount of short for FY '22. So luckily, we have money in the health insurance line this year again that I think we'll be able to deal with our downfall, but I don't want to keep planning on that. So I put in an additional $5,800 in that one budget line just to cover the shortfall that we're looking at. So those are most of my budgets. I have 2 more things for you guys. I think, well, 3 things, sorry. Let's talk about COLAs next, just so you guys had some numbers in front of you. None of this is built into the budget anywhere, but I wanted you to again have some numbers in front of you, so I did it in my cover letter. That I did that sheet that you guys have kind of always come from the treasurer's office, that if you decided to add a 2% COLA to non-union employees, there's a dollar amount of $47,000. If you went 2.5%, it's $56,000, and 3% is $66,000. It's not set in stone's hard number, but it's some estimates for you to have, so that as you get into your further conversations, you've got some ballpark numbers. So I just wanted to have that out there. Certainly, once we get closer and you give me some more details, I can get you some more concrete numbers, but at least I ran some ballpark for you to have in front of you. So any questions on that?
Nope.
All right, the last one that's gonna make everybody's brain hurt. Let's talk loans. Excuse me.
Don't get all choked up about it.
I know. I have some water, thank you. In front of you, I have gone a step further this year, and I've given you 23 and 24's loan reports because, as we all know, we have worked really hard to change our financial situation when it comes to borrowing. So if you look at the one that says FY23 first, you'll notice that we have something called a 1-year ban. And this is where we've gotten into, because of our financial situation, we just keep borrowing every single year for these loans.
It turned into multi-year.
Which turned into multi-year bans because we didn't have a good audit, we didn't have good rating, we had all of these unforeseen things happen. The good news for the town of Hatfield is the interest rate has been very low, so it hasn't really hurt us too bad. But let's be realistic that that's not going to change. So if you look at the first section that says 1-year ban, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items that are at the top of the list. 4 of those are coming off completely. This is the last payment. We don't have to talk about those again. Thank you. Then we have 2 that have 1 year's left payment after fiscal 23's. So those will stay as a ban.
Which 2 are those?
But those are the ones that say town hall renovation number 1, and then rotating biological contractor number 3. So if you look on the right-hand side, last
it
1
just
year's
says
left.
1 year
Done,
left.
done.
Okay.
And then there's 2 1 year left.
Do it.
Then you have the wastewater gravity thickener. Now, in my mind, I said, well, why would we not put that with a bond with the rest of them? But because it wasn't a debt exclusion, the same paperwork to borrow it was not done. So it will take us a lot of work to take that one loan and make it into a bond. So the financial representatives from Unibank said, you might just want to leave that one for 7 years as an ongoing ban, because you're going to still have some short-term things that you're doing versus redoing all the work, because we didn't do it as a debt exclusion. The amount of how you borrow the money changes depending on what the borrowing is.
Why is it harder to do it if it's not a debt exclusion?
Because their paperwork was not initially done at the time from the select board's office, from the town clerk. The paperwork that was required to do the borrowing is not there. So you could backtrack and do that paperwork, but they're saying you don't have, if I take these other ones that I've listed, the other 6, the paperwork's already all done. I still have to go to bond council and I have to do the steps, but the initial borrowing was done in a different way that it's very easy to turn it from a band into a bond. And I had to ask that twice. I had to call the guy back. I'm like, talk me through it again, because it was a little confusing to me.
So the water transmission lines, town hall phase 2, COA, kitchen ramp, all that.
And the Route 5. So all of those would get turned into a bond. So what does that mean? So you will see that there's a principal and an interest payment due in July of 22, which is FY23. Those numbers are in red. So those payments will be made. But if you then flip the paper over, you're going to see I have a new section that you've never seen before that says bond issues, other long-term borrowings. We're in a unique time frame that the way that the bond cycle works, we're going to make an additional payment on these principals in the year 23, a one-time extra payment, because we're going to have to reborrow the ban because we won't have the bond rating done, and then it'll get turned into a bond. So you have to account for an extra payment this year, which will help us in the end because we're getting, cleaning up our debt. We can build it into our budget, which is what Marlene and I have done, is the way that it is. It's built in. I did ask permission to make sure I was right about this. If we find that we're really going to struggle with that, because it is a one-time year principal payment, you can use free cash for it if you needed to. I'm not recommending that because I think there's lots of other great things we could do with free cash, but if we get to that conversation, we can run those numbers. I didn't want to put that column in here and what that would look like yet because I think it was just too many numbers. So you will see that now the 6 items that I referred to will now have a interest payment in December of 22, and then they will have an interest and principal payment in June of 23. That's how bonds always work, is that they're paid, you pay interest twice and you pay the principal once. So going forward, which is why when we get to it, I have it broken down for next year, you can see it cleans up the whole sheet and makes it a lot more easy to look at. Before we get to the next sheet though, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the other things that are on here. If you go back to page 1, we have a fire ambulance police loan that is still authorized that hasn't been issued. Now, lucky for me, the fire chief is here. We may not need to borrow this money because he was able to secure a lot of grant funding to back this up. And so we're looking at maybe $55,000 is all that the town's going to have to match to do this grant, so kudos to Bob. I would recommend that would come from free cash. That's a smart use of free cash because it's a one-time payment, done, it's off the books, no more authorization. You're not spreading it over years. And I can confidently say Bob's working on getting the last of the bills, so we'll know if that 55 is a little less. I'm pretty confident in that number, but we'll be able to have that number very quickly so that we can say, okay, we can just take that off our books altogether and it's done. So my hope is that you guys will say, okay, that's a good idea when we get there from free cash. And then we would go back we would have an article at town meeting to rescind this approval because we're not going to need it. Okay. So, go ahead.
I want you to flip over to the other back again.
Yep.
Sorry. So if you put a bond for these 6 things,
yep,
we essentially have to make a double payment this year.
Yes.
So that means we have to come up with an additional $100,000?
Yep. But we can use free cash if we want to. The way Marlene has it built in the budget right now, it is not coming from free cash.
Okay.
But you are now locked in at a 3.5% interest rate, and you no longer have to take the time and effort to do.
Bans. I get that part of it. I'm thinking.
I know.
I'm thinking budget, and I'm thinking, so I just want to be clear on that.
Yep, exactly. So if you go through more of her numbers and say, okay, Sharon, what does that number really look like? I actually have it already kind of built in down below, but I didn't want to make this even more confusing of what that could look like if we had to use free cash for it. I don't want to
I
miss
just have a question, but this is just for the 1 year.
This is
We were
just for the 1 year,
the
so we're gonna
two
get there.
payments, right.
Yep, so at the top, though, you still have the water filtration plant and the fire truck, which is, the water filtration plant is a FHA loan, so it's already a fixed, so you wouldn't do that, and the same thing with the fire truck. Those are already set loans, they're just not the same bond as these other ones, so I wanted to keep them separate for you. So that's kind of what 23 looks like. So just to simplify, so you've got to kind of look at it, because I haven't heard about any of the new projects about borrowing for next year. Now, when you look at next year, your 1 year bans, you've got two that are done after next year, and you'll still have one year ban that we will have to take care of, for the next 6 years.
If we wanted to, for $50,000, we could pay those off
True.
and not have to worry
Yeah.
about them next year at all.
We could do that, but you'd still have to do the water graviter thickener, so you're still gonna have to do one, so half a dozen, I mean, even that's not a lot of money, so there's lots of options here when you start to get there.
Avoid a ban altogether,
Exactly.
yeah.
But then you can see that now you've got no authorized on issue, no refunding, so now you just have your bonds, but you will see that they are listed twice, because every year going forward, you'll make 2 interest payments and 1 principal payment. It's just the additional principal for just 23. So when you look at the totals for principal for FY24, you're down to $348,000 versus in FY23, you're $526. Now that's not all because of the bond. I mean, we're paying off a lot of things as well, but I just wanted you to have it all kind of in a nice little package to say, okay, this makes sense. I'm doing my due diligence to bring everything together to put us in a good financial spot going forward. That I think it's a lot of money. We're not going to lie, but it's the right direction for us to go in from my perspective, Lori's perspective, and obviously Roselli's encouraged all of this as well. So that's the loans. Questions? I know some of you guys, this is your first time looking at these sheets, so if you look at it tomorrow and you have questions, it can be kind of like, please let me know, because I could certainly talk you through some of these numbers if you needed it to. So that's my loans.
So how can you pay interest twice?
That's just how bonds are set up. That's how a bond schedule works. I wonder, it's just, Sharon, that's how it works in
Makes
the
the
world.
bondholder happy.
Huh?
Probably because it makes the bondholder happy.
So you pay interest early and then interest late, 2 separate, like at the beginning of the year,
You
the
do
end of the
December and
year?
June.
Huh?
December and June. It even has the dates that they have lined up for it right on the sheet.
Oh.
It says 12, they want it on 12/15 and 6/15.
I'm looking at the wrong one.
You see it? You want me to come over?
No, I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
It's all new to us because we haven't had a bond in forever, so. So, all that said, I have good news at the end of my speech, so I saved the best for last. So the last document that I'm giving you is something that Marlene and Lori and I have been working on a little bit, but the last time Marlene and I looked at it together, it was kind of all over the place because a few of the accounts, as we know, a lot of our special articles were not booked properly prior to Lori being here. So we're worked really hard to clear this up. So we're going to go through this list, and there's going to be some additional money that you can repurpose for projects. Because, for example, if you go to page, where's the best one, Marlene? Page 2, at the bottom, there's a town meeting article from
Center School.
515 for Center School, a building we no longer own, that has $90,000 sitting in it.
I saw that, I'm like, yeah, what's that doing there?
And
We have $90,000.
Right, that was money that had been appropriated
and then not
when we
used.
owned the building, and that was.
demolition.
For demolition, right.
So if you start from the kind of cover, you're gonna look at some of these and say, okay, it totally makes sense that we haven't used the money for the Route 5 easement because that's still in conversations.
Right.
So some of these
Still.
are going to have a note in them that say, still in
It can be
progress.
closed out.
Or,
Oh, right,
or
some
still in
are in
progress.
progress,
Some
some
are
can-
certainly still in
right.
progress, but then the third one on the list is there's $90 in the assessor's software upgrade.
Right.
Let's clear that up. Then there's infrastructure replacement from 17 that's actually got a negative number by, well, what do you come out? It's like $300, $352. Okay, if we need to use some of that to clear it up. Our hope is that between Marlene and myself, we're gonna talk to kind of split and divide the list up, to go to department heads and say, okay, town hall generator, well, we know, look, that's used up this year, so we can close that one out. But look, oh, there's some money in, I know you guys had talked about the bathrooms upstairs. There's money left in the project on page one of the pages, town hall ramp and COA renovations. There's $56,000 left there. Well, there's one of your problems of something you could repurpose and not have to have you affect your budget. So I come with a little bad news, but more good news, I think, in that a lot of these.
How much money do you think you're gonna get out of this?
Daryl, bottom line, man.
I would say,
Dinner's coming.
What do you got for us?
to be honest,
Well, because I'm thinking we pull the money out of that, we make the extra loan payment, and away we go.
Yeah.
that's certainly a possibility. There are some of these, I would say, how do I don't like to put
You
a
don't
number out
have to
there.
give me a number.
Okay,
I don't
I don't wanna
expect
be on
you,
the
no,
record.
I don't know. You don't wanna, I don't want you guys to guess.
Okay. I want to go through this list and be able to come back to you next week, the week, I think you're meeting, you're meeting next week, right? Or are you meeting 2 weeks from now?
Every
We're meeting
two.
next week until we get
So we
this.
can probably, I think Marlene and I certainly can have a better idea of what this looks like. I had hoped if I hadn't been out sick all last week,
No,
you'd
it's
have it
fine.
done, so
I
I
think if it's chipped
apologize.
away at, that's
But we
fine.
can
Yeah.
conquer it and say, okay.
Divvying up the list, and yeah, we can just reach out, and
Well,
I've
that's
already,
a lot different than what you saw earlier today,
Yeah,
right?
it does.
So we were able to bring in other years because some of the things kind of, like Bob's sitting here, I said, Bob, you have one on here for ambulance electronic patient reporting system from 2011. $5,000. Bob Dudley doesn't even know that money's there. He wasn't the fire chief then.
Right.
I know the police chief found one, and he already talked to Marlene about wanting to repurpose some of his money. So, which is good. I mean, it's just some good news in the year. like
Lori's
lots of
getting
stuff.
on top of all these.
Exactly, we're
But
fine.
can a department head repurpose that money?
He can put a proposal to the select board to go to town meeting.
And I received a request today.
So, they can ask, they certainly can, but that's all up to you guys and the taxpayers to make that decision. I know, for the big one from someone who works in this building is always the conversation about upstairs and what are we gonna do? Well, I said easily, we can't do anything with upstairs until we do a bathroom. Well, here, I just found you some money, so at least you could do the bathroom and figure out who's gonna use that beautiful space that's been sitting empty for a long time. So we'll bring this back to you next week. So it does come with some good news of some money that we found. I think that's positive. I mean, the goal has been consistently every year to clean these things up. And that's why, part of why we've had so much free cash is because we keep cleaning up things. Eventually, I'm gonna come to you and be like, okay, I didn't find any more money because we found it all. But luckily, we're not there yet. So that's my recap. I think I covered everything off my list, unless anybody.
We probably spent some of this.
Yeah. Well,
We already covered, it was improperly booked.
Well, exactly,
We
so-
already, when we were pulling money out of things to pay
Yes.
things,
Right.
Right.
some of it was this.
yeah,
Some
We
of
already
it was
spent the
this
money.
that we spent
Right.
just to make our books look
Right.
good.
exactly.
Yeah.
And now it's coming back.
And now
Because
it's
it was
coming
never gone in the first place, we just didn't,
Took it from
Right.
somewhere.
it came from somewhere else,
Yep.
yeah.
So, questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else I can, obviously, if you got more questions, once you
No,
delve
nice-
into
No,
this.
Nice
we're gonna
job.
look at the budget now.
Thank you for all the numbers.
There you go.
Thank you, Sharon.
I tried to make it.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Yep.
Let's take a peek at the spreadsheet.
Okay.
Oh,
It's not as bad as you think.
is it new?
Actually, the numbers come down quite a bit since this morning.
You're
So,
welcome.
yeah, we just need to
good.
turn that on, right?
John's got
Oh, you
you.
got the remote. Okay, John, hey, you're on top of it.
Hey, listen, he's taking care of you, Marlene.
And to be clear, what you've entered into the spreadsheet is everybody's requested budgets to date.
Yes, yes. So I'll go to the budget tab.
What's
So
not
we
in
have.
there is any COLA, because we haven't
No.
talked about that.
Yeah, that's right. So the requested column is here, and as you had asked last week, is that, just for discussion purposes, plug the requested number into the recommended budget and then work backwards from there, correct?
Okay.
Yeah. So this recommended budget column represents every department's
You're not up there yet, though.
requested,
There it is.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
I'm open.
No, I mean, I
but-
know you
oh,
are, it's just it hadn't popped
Oh, I
up.
think you mean I'm talking to it and it's not there.
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, all the loans have been updated since last week.
And income, you've put numbers in there. You
Yeah,
and
that was
Lori.
there. So state and local revenue was
State
already
and
plugged
locals
in.
is in there. This is using the governor's budget. This is not
Right.
using the House budget.
Nothing yet from the,
Nothing yet from
Yeah.
that.
but I am going to, when I talked with Sharon and Lori this morning, we thought it might be good to go back and take a look at our local receipts, so I will be doing that. Lori sent me an updated revenue report today, so some of these numbers
Okay.
in '23 may increase. But if we go back to the very top, so this morning when we were talking before, I entered some CPC, community preservation numbers as well. The budget is plugged in here. Special articles to date are in here, but we still have not plugged the capital projects yet. Well, actually, I've put in a couple of capital projects based on last week's conversation. But anyway, this number right here, this morning was over $1 million, right, Sharon? It was over $1 million.
So we're only over 160,000?
160,000, right.
Really?
Don't you feel a little bit better now?
No.
Not really.
It was $1 million this morning.
No.
Once we figure out where it all, that everything is in there, then I'll feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, everything is not in here.
Yeah.
All the budget information is plugged in, the special articles, so as I was just saying, we discussed last week.
Snow and ice.
Possibly, I have not put, so it's here, but I haven't, are we going to fund a portion of it? From maybe free cash,
Yeah,
and
we
then
don't have
put
to all fund
a
it off the
portion on the
recap.
tax recap?
Right. That's what we did last year, part and part. Part in the
Yeah.
recap, part
We
in
did,
free
we
cash.
split it up, yeah.
I'll come to it.
So last week, we talked about paying off the current vehicle lease, $31,000 or
He
$49,000.
sent some, yeah.
So I plugged that in from free cash. We talked about perhaps adding the police cruiser and taking care of it from free cash, so that's
I
there.
think that, well, that's certainly fine with me. I just think that if we want to keep the lease at the same cost, we're going to actually I think we figured out we were going to have to do the COA van probably.
Yeah, not the police.
Not the police,
cruiser.
but
Yeah,
but
David
that's not
Keir had mentioned that
decided,
last.
you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean,
Phil sent us an email on,
yeah, I have it somewhere here.
Okay, an update.
Regarding the 31? If the 30, so if we pay off the 31 for 31,000, this is my understanding, but keep that amount, so that will, if you pay that off, you're basically paying off in advance a vehicle, a rent-to-own vehicle, AKA lease. If you keep that amount in the budget for next year, however, you can now add an additional, 20,000 roughly for the new lease of 5 vehicles, right? That's going to be 51 or 50,000 per year. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah.
Because you
yeah.
paid it off, it's like you're starting over again, and you will start with the 4 or 5 vehicles that were
Yeah.
requested. I might be off a little bit on the
What Phil's
dollar,
talking about is if you pay off the existing lease this year,
The 31,
the
yep.
31,000.
Yep.
And then you'd have to go back for the 31,000 and add to that 17,500.
Right.
Yes.
For a new group of.
Correct.
For a new
Correct.
fleet, or not a fleet, but,
Yes, would give you a total of 49,208.
And
Right.
what's 17.5, Sean?
Oh, 17,759.62, so it's a total of 49,208.90. And that will give
Give us
enough for three vehicles.
Yeah.
for 3 vehicles, right?
Yeah. Because what
We were
he's,
talking about 4, and I can't remember which, it's gotta be the COA
Yeah.
one that we have to
It's
buy outright.
DPW, COA.
lease 3 vehicles and buy one outright with, the 49,208.90 would cover $230,000 in vehicles
For 5.
for 5 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
So by paying off that 31,000, you're freeing up the next,
Right.
a new lease for 3 vehicles.
Right.
That's
But the
what-
new lease.
But it would be 59, it would be
Okay.
49.
49,000
Right.
instead of 30.
So it's an $18,000
Right.
increase
It's a bump.
is
That's correct.
basically. But-
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the 23 prices yet.
Well,
I get confused. Well, Sharon and I were talking earlier
Obviously,
today
yeah.
because I wanted to make sure that the vehicle lease, so if you look at that sheet right here, so
He's thinking
current lease
8
is
to 10%.
129,000 and proposed would be 53,500. And the ambulance is separate.
I mean, Phil talked, in his email, he said he talked to 2 of the dealers who were on the state bid list.
right.
And they, so, he got a sense of what the prices might be like.
The school superintendent is trying, Karen, the school superintendent is trying to get on. He's watching on YouTube, but he can't
Yeah, that's streamed
find the
live.
participant.
We don't have an
We don't have
online.
the participation anymore.
Do not, oh,
Yeah.
But you can can you go to the town hall
oh.
calendar?
No, the meeting is streamed live, but they're, you can just
Oh.
watch it, right? You can't
So
participate.
how come we're not,
They come here.
how come we're not doing participation anymore?
Because you can come here, I guess.
Yeah. The decision the Board of Selectmen made that mask mandates are over, so there's no need to have remote meeting. We're streaming live and recording it like we always do.
Okay. Move on. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I told the superintendent that, oh yeah, he could get on.
It just happened last week, Darryl, with the changes.
Right, that, people way out of town, so, anyway, okay.
So is that
So
vehicle
is
lease?
this 182,500 a good number?
Well, it will ultimately be 2 separate vehicle leases, if I'm not mistaken, right? There'll be a new one for
There's always-
49,000.
Right.
Correct.
Is that part of the 182?
And there has been separate
there's- yeah.
leases, but we've funded one number.
Well, I understand that, it's just we're, without the breakdown in front of us, we don't know
I have
what's
the
making that,
breakdown right
okay.
here. The breakdown, current way the way he did it, not say, I didn't see Phil's email, so had the 31,000 for that last payment in that number
Yeah,
with the 53,000, which is the ambulance below it, sorry.
Yeah.
Then the next one on my list is the school, so then 129,000. So we had 129 plus the 31,000 equals,
160.
and then the additional 19 for,
I
or
got
17.
178, 459.28.
Yeah, I had a rough number, I didn't get that email today.
Oh.
So
I
I
haven't
was
seen
going
that email
with my
either.
last email from the
Okay.
lease company.
Well, we know what's making up the 182, that was the important. that's how
Yeah,
that
so
is.
it's close, I mean, it's close.
Yeah,
I just, I just added the 17,759 to the 160,700.
yep.
Okay. So we'll leave it as is.
Well, yeah, or you could save you could make it 180 if you wanted to just,
Right. Close enough,
save 2,500 somewhere.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, saving money already, Marlene.
Good job, Brian.
We just have to remember that doesn't include all the vehicles we talked about. Hang on a second.
Only
Let
does
me
three.
pull up capital plan, and I'll tell you,
Well, you're-
I'll tell you which three.
Yeah, right, I was just going to say, it's
that's-
the lease vehicles, but not the one we're buying outright.
Right, hang
We
on, I
think
got
it's a COA.
capital plan right here.
What does yellow mean, Marlene? on your-
Anything highlighted in yellow is new money,
Oh, okay.
additional, yeah,
So,
Increased over prior year.
increased, yeah.
But that's not really a $182,000 increase.
Just, there is new
Well-
money added to that.
Okay, that's what, so there's been money added to this line.
Right,
Okay, all right, got it.
19,000.
I got it, I just,
19,000.
You used to carry a line which showed the increase. Is that the one all the way to the right?
Yep, right here on the end.
all right, so you got a cruiser at 48.5. What's the fire vehicle? Is that?
Utility truck?
Yeah.
That was 55.
Oh, yep, thank you. Then we got this, hang on, let me just find, the COI van was 70 something. And then the highway pickup,
that was 40-something.
40
It's gonna
something.
be more than that, though.
Why is that?
I don't have vehicles. I have the total equipment cost was 250,000 for a payment amount of 53,400 and I can't read that number.
Yeah, it's let's see, I just want to find the COA. Oh, COA van is, okay, so that's in for 55,000. I thought that was more than that. Maybe I'm wrong. That's what I got.
230,000
So,
for 3 vehicles.
well, that's,
That's the 49,000 a year for 5 years, right?
49,208.90. Yep.
Roughly.
well, we don't, well, the numbers that, unless I have an older version of capital plan, which I don't think I do, the numbers that we have in here are only about 150,000 for the first 3 vehicles.
Because he
When-
had
when-
added the police
Yeah.
cruiser in there. Bill had, but we, in the proposal that you guys have listed.
Right, but I'm saying, what he's saying is it's $230,000.
Yeah, because I think those numbers that were submitted to capital plan have changed. Because the cost of vehicles
Went up,
has
well,
gone up.
right,
It-
but,
I believe that's what Phil told us last week. Am I the only one?
yeah, no, it says 8 to 10%, so I'm just,
Yeah.
even if it was 10%, we're still
Right.
talking,
Right, because,
it's,
15,000,
Yeah,
not an
right.
extra.
right, because I
Right.
don't think that, like, there was a pickup truck for the DPW,
Right.
there's a pickup truck for the fire department, and I don't believe that's just going
That
to be a
COA
$48,000 pickup.
that COA van
Those
is,
are,
that
those are
COA
accurate
van,
prices from my end.
yeah,
I
COA
talked to
doesn't seem right.
MHQ, who's our vendor, and
Yeah.
they gave projected out for Ford F-150 and
the
23.
COA van's gotta be more than that.
That's the one that seems off to me.
Hang on.
They already added it.
I thought that was like
What was the
I thought it
CO
was too.
van? Wasn't
I
that
thought it was like 70.
79,000 or something?
Yeah.
Here, I thought it
Hang
was-
on.
Sorry, Taylor. Sean just said 55.
So the number in
I
the
don't know.
capital
They would
plan you
have-
think is good for the pickup?
I think
that
both
you're-
the DPW truck, the fire
Says
vehicle, and the
55.
cruiser are fairly accurate. The only one I think that might be off could be the council.
That's what I have here too.
Yeah, so Sean, I have up on the screen here is the letter from the Capital Improvement Committee. I don't see the COA van on here. Unless it is, and I'm just missing it. We've got the pumper,
I mean, it was definitely,
there's the police cruiser.
yeah, well, we definitely talked about moving it up in priority
It's
because,
55, Sean?
yeah, that's what it says, right?
But I just think that,
That might be,
I don't know if it's right, but it
I don't
says
know.
55
that
least.
seems,
That number
Cheap.
was, I think.
Does seem low for a van.
Because that was a carryover, I think, from 2 years, because I was sitting in at
Yeah.
the meeting. so
Yeah,
that one could be a little bit on the.
That seems cheap, yeah. Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, realizing these aren't what we pay retail, so that's the other thing to keep in mind.
Right.
Anything that we
Yeah.
have here is not a pickup that you would see at
True.
Northampton.
Yep.
A
Right.
lot. We're getting it for
right.
much cheaper or something. But yeah, I think the council on aging thing is probably 55 could be a little low.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna have to figure out which vehicles.
So
We'll have to revisit that number a
Maybe
little bit.
Phil will be here next week, maybe. Or you can give us that information.
Yep.
Yeah, notice was sent out to all the departments that, the finance committees that will be meeting the next couple of weeks, and if they would like an opportunity to speak, if there's been any changes to their budget request, or just want to speak to it.
Well, maybe we have,
This is
you
the
know,
They
time.
want to be here for clarification of things.
and
you
maybe
know,
we have updated
after we-
numbers anyway.
After we, yeah,
Like, maybe there's actual prices now.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So do
So,
we want to change the cruiser here to the COA van?
Just leave it in there as a placeholder, because until we have the actual numbers,
Okay.
there's no reason to
right.
guess
It's
at
only
it.
gonna change that number a little bit. It's not gonna change it.
Yeah, that's true.
big.
Any thoughts on snow and ice?
No, I got a question. We just got an email from
Wait till the end.
state from Senator Joe that we're being awarded a bunch of money. How does that play into our,
That's for the,
Chapter
The win-
90. that-
yeah,
that
it's
money,
to-
I think.
for winter damages, winter storm damages, or?
yes?
Yeah, it can be used for
Oh, we got two separate emails,
repairs,
right.
replacements, storm drains, guardrails, what else? Guardrails,
Not for.
It's-
Mailboxes.
snow and ice.
right. It's
Not
not
for
for snow and ice.
repair.
It's
Yeah.
for any road improvements, repairs due to, winter, maintaining your
So-
roads and,
I'm just bringing it up because I'm trying to squeeze money.
Yeah,
I think on snow and ice, Marlene, we should just wait till the end.
okay,
because we have some options.
we can do that,
And
yeah.
see, yeah, right.
Yeah.
see-
And we
That's what
have
we
done
did.
that.
That's
Yeah.
what we
Yeah.
did last year.
Honestly, we have waited
And then
until the
decide
end,
how
yeah.
much we want to go free cash and how much we want to.
Yeah.
So I'm
We
meeting,
pay for it either way. I mean,
Right, it's just a matter of, do you want it to come off the recap,
right.
right,
and reduce your levy limit?
yeah.
We did plug in the actuals though through today.
What's that?
We did plug in the actuals through today of what they're,
Hopefully, we're done.
what's that?
We hope
Well,
not.
yes.
We might
Yeah,
not be.
1:30, this is as of March 25th, and Lori said this morning that's still what it is right now. I'm meeting with Bob Wagner tomorrow morning to go over some of these articles that they're proposing, because there's a couple of them, they don't have a dollar amount tied to it yet. So they met last week, so I'll get those numbers, firmed up. But yeah, it's just,
So this budget has the 2 new positions in the fire department in it? Proposed, fire ambulance /
to the best of my knowledge, it does, and I gave that budget to the chief this afternoon, wrong way here.
so it's in there, Bob?
What I was requesting is in the budget.
And this, what the school was requesting is in the budget?
It is. Their request, I haven't heard any updates on their
I
budget.
got an email from the superintendent today that they have to move some things around because of special ed, but he didn't think it was going to change the final number. So, let me,
Well, hope they can keep looking. 10% increases, or 9, whatever, 8 point something is big.
sure, and it's like a lot of increases, it's a level services, so.
Yeah, well,
Anyway, what other budgets requested money?
All the ones in yellow.
Yeah, so I also have.
So highway had, now how about, did this include, Phil wanted Assistant?
assistant.
Yeah, $10,000, that's in there for an assistant.
Okay.
And it has the full.
And a building inspector, that's a shared position.
Not anymore.
Oh, not anymore?
That's what Marlene shared today.
Yeah, I spoke with Kyle, and he is utilizing
Oh, okay.
Gerard.
Good.
But it does have, Phil had asked for a half equaling a full, to take the full half position and put it into water full. So in the end, this does have money in there for to make a,
Yeah.
how do I say, it? To complete that other half of that position. That is in this as well.
Right.
So this spreadsheet here reflects all the departments that have requested additional money, which is in the budget.
And did you add the stuff I gave you today?
No, I haven't. See, blank. I haven't got to that yet.
Hey, listen, sorry, I was,
So
Sick.
that'll add to things too.
Right.
mine are in the
Well,
actual
her
budget.
numbers are in the
budget.
spreadsheet, they're just not on this particular document you're looking
So
at.
this is just showing.
Yeah, so this shows all the increases. And what is, actually, this is an expense increase here.
And boy, I hope this is all right, but my brain just looks at this and thinks there were a lot of increases and not a lot of tax increases, so where the heck is all the money coming from?
Question, for the infrastructure, the IT infrastructure for town hall, could be considered under ARPA funding?
Yeah, anything can be.
Yeah, you can
Just
use that
a-
for anything.
Just a thought.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah.
So Marlene, if you go back to the other sheet, where are we at now?
What other sheet?
The regular budget?
Oh, the spreadsheet here. Oh, so you didn't see that earlier? Oh, that's
I
right, we
did, but then you
change, we
made a couple
changed the
changes,
number.
so.
Yeah,
We're at 106.
57.
Yeah, it actually went
It was
down.
160.
Online, Marlene?
Am I what?
Online?
Am I online?
Right now, are you online? Can you email that to me?
Oh, yeah. I was wondering, like, what do you mean online? Am I sharing it with a, okay,
Hey,
yeah.
were you able to get on the guest network though?
Well,
On the guest or the private? I couldn't get on the
I don't
guest.
know, I just automatically connect now when no, I think I'm on the private
Okay.
because I
Because the guest
logged
was,
in before the guest network existed. yeah.
exactly. Well, I don't think the guest is, as of today, when I tried to do it, I wanted to try it and it didn't work
I'm
for me,
on,
so
I think I'm online.
Oh,
so
you're
yeah.
on private probably though.
Yeah. Yeah, now I just automatically connect when I come in.
Yeah. Just Karen and I made a note for tomorrow. They're sick of hearing enough from us, right, Karen?
A lot of people use the guest.
Well, no, because we haven't had it before, we just
Oh, yeah,
got it
so
set up.
nobody's using it then.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Hasn't worked yet.
that's,
No, it worked for,
But it hasn't worked yet.
it worked one day for me. And that's it, which is why I have it as a saved,
You should have bought some stock.
just one day, that's
one
it.
day.
When do we expect to see the house numbers?
I think just sometime in April? This month, yeah. Sometime later this month.
So,
Because then you gotta, you figure, you gotta get to June
right,
and have for a conference committee,
Yeah.
right.
Usually, we've updated the state numbers one more time before we go to
Oh,
town
yes.
meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So,
why I'm waiting.
The other thing, too, that
Maybe
the
there'll
board
be
needs
a-
to discuss is that ballot
resolution.
question,
local aid resolution.
the exclusion ballot question.
That would be exciting.
That has to get to the town clerk by April 12th, so that's next week.
Tuesday. I mean, that's
She
next
has to
Tuesday.
have
We
it
can vote.
before
Yeah,
Tuesday, so we can vote that tonight.
we can do
I
that.
forgot to bring in my water bill.
Guess what, you're gonna be here next week.
So that's for the wastewater
No,
treatment
no.
plant.
I'll bring my
So,
water bill.
Yep.
okay,
You skipping next week?
so we're scheduled to meet next week. Our action items for this week are to take a further look at the budget and this
Capital.
budget to make sure that the numbers are
we set up a call for Lori.
Are
Lori will be
correct?
here next Tuesday also.
Next
so we're
Tuesday,
gonna
but-
Look with her.
No,
But
yeah.
she said she could be available Thursday and Friday. I asked her if we could touch base near the end of this
Right.
week after meeting tonight, and she said
Right.
she would be available Thursday and Friday.
So, and I guess, so, yeah, I mean, because we have to come up with, with that. And so then we have capital items that we haven't really discussed, and I guess the question is, do we want to discuss that tonight, or do we want to hit the ground running next week and do it all
I'm
next
not
week?
gonna be here next week because I'm on vacation. I'm flying back Tuesday, so I won't be back till.
If people are up for it, Daryl, since you asked out loud, I would just as soon start running through some of the capital items, because we know that traditionally those are paid traditionally out of free cash or
Yeah.
maybe ARPA this year, whatever, whereas the budgets are going to be where our problem lie,
The budget,
you
yeah.
know?
No,
So maybe while we're here, and plus Sean's on capital, so he can, I don't know how it feels or how the finance committee as a whole feels.
Yeah, I mean, how do we want to approach it?
Or at least some of it. I mean,
Yeah.
All right, I gotta find my capital budget.
I can pull up the capital budget.
I got one here if you need to.
Is this the latest and greatest?
I think it is, yeah.
It's somewhere under here.
So have some of these been done for, do you have this, Marlena?
The capital, I have the capital budget
Oh,
pulled up
okay,
here.
Go down to COA van. What do you have in yours?
55.
Yeah.
Oh, and Marlene's, I don't know.
COA van.
Go, right
There it
there.
is, yeah, 55.
Yeah. I thought that was more for some reason, and now it doesn't appear anywhere.
I definitely have that on my notes for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because that one, I just
Well,
have a different number. in my
there's a
head.
universal number out there that's different, so I'm wondering where that came from. Like, someone said it, or
55
something,
showing up a lot.
something happened, yeah.
Something happened there.
We won't vote on anything while you're gone.
You vote on whatever you want.
One less thing you have to?
All right.
All right, what do you got, Marlene?
Okay, where do you want to start? Any particular
Up the top-
department or just
up
at the top?
I guess.
Start right at the top.
Okay,
Vital record storage, that's off for this year.
yeah.
Is that being?
So this is the bathroom upstairs,
Yep.
and we were talking about freeing up some money to, available funds to
Yep.
cover that. Air purifiers, that's all
We did
taken
that,
care
right?
of. Yes, that's done.
Let me update my sheet here.
Okay, so next.
Oh, I already
is-
did.
Yeah, so I'm just
Yep.
going to draw a line through
I have that as
here.
done.
Thank you very much. They work very well.
Oh, good. Engine one replacement. I have $60,000 for
Yes.
that.
Wasn't that subject to whether the ladder truck was going to
Yep.
replace that?
No, that's subject to whether we get grant, because the $60,000 is only a 5% match.
Okay.
So.
So that is
I
the
would,
ladder.
I would suggest that we just put that on for, we just put it into ARPA as it, not spend it, not actually do it, but just hold $60,000 worth of ARPA funding, and then if
Placeholder.
we get the grant,
Yeah.
we'll do it.
Okay,
If we don't, we have $60,000 worth of ARPA money to
Yeah,
spend
we
some
just-
other time on some other thing.
We're going to need to keep a
that
running
is the
tab of
ladder
ARPA
truck,
funds.
right, Bob? That is the ladder truck,
Yes.
engine
Correct.
one?
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay.
So then we got the engine two replacement.
That's a borrow.
It
or
could be, yep.
recommended borrow.
Do you want to give us the 30 seconds? So borrowing, 325,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's
That's the one that's 33 years old, right?
Correct. It's replacing.
The current one is 33 years.
Current apparatus would be replacing is 1989. So by the time the
Oh.
truck will get here, it'll be.
Maybe this question's been answered and I missed it. But engine one, when it gets replaced, what happens to it?
Oh,
Bye-bye.
this one
Goodbye.
here.
That's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure.
Correct.
Yep.
It'll go, and presumably, we're not that far into it, there'll be a trade value that will come back as part of that as well. But we're not far enough into that process because we'll continue to operate.
We're talking about engine two. So it's $325,000. It's replacing a 33-year-old vehicle. I mean, you know where it is. And engine one has nothing to do with that. Engine one, if it gets replaced, is going away,
As will engine two.
as will engine two.
It is just a replacement.
So there will be no extra engines at the end of the day.
No,
Right.
in engine
Well,
one,
2 weeks ago, that was a conversation
engine one,
about,
that's the ladder?
Yes.
that will
It would be
be,
replaced with a ladder if we were to get the grant.
If you get the grant.
yes.
Oh, so
And then-
there, I'm sorry, I was just going to say, so what we decided when you were out of the
Yeah,
room
the
was,
ARPA, yeah.
yeah, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
cool with that.
So I have a
Yeah.
note there, placeholder for ARPA.
The
Um,
COA says it'll be on 70,000.
See, I knew that number came from
Yeah.
somewhere. That didn't
Makes
just,
sense, I
didn't
just.
just make that up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway.
All right, I'm gonna,
So we'll have to update that one.
I'm gonna
get
change
there.
it.
It was bothering me, I had to ask.
No, no,
Well, you
yeah,
don't necessarily have to replace it, Marlene, because that, we'll get to that, we'll go back to that.
So,
Because we might be paying for one of them outright, right? Didn't we say
Oh,
that?
that's right,
So-
yeah.
so we're talking about engine two, right? Is that
yep.
Yeah.
325,000? And that would be a borrowing, and I assume we borrow that over 7 to 10 years? Right? It's more long-term because we had the last one for 30 years, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've kind of gone into all of our vehicle replacements, especially the fire apparatus, or most of the fire apparatus is gonna be essentially a 25-year replacement plan. They should last us that long.
So is there
You
any,
could pay for it over 10 years for sure.
yeah, is there any advantage to using any ARPA / free cash money on something like that, or do we just do a straight
I don't think you're gonna
borrow?
have to. I think you have to put it on as an article and borrow it, yeah. You'd use up, it'd be a lot of free cash and,
Oh, I know, and I was just thinking, do you take some of these items and do you pay part of it down so it gets it to be more reasonable? Because, that 325,000, if
Yep.
if Sharon does it over 10 years, that's gonna add
we could,
$32,000, maybe $40,000 to the budget every year.
right, but we could take that off if we wanted to like pay off, like we could pay off some of these short-term things that we have hanging over our heads too for next year and the year after, like.
Right.
And kind of start.
10 here, 10 there.
Yeah,
Yep.
cutting away, because there's, like, for less than $50,000, you could actually take those two other bands that Sharon has on there and pay
Yeah.
those off, so you wouldn't have those in 2023 or,
Right.
or 4.
And with this mini pumper, it's gonna have no effect on the 23 budget because it's gonna be the 24 budget,
Yep,
correct?
correct.
You may have a little short-term interest, but I have
Well, I'm assuming you probably takes time to even get it,
But
right?
I do have some.
It's gonna be a year out, Bob?
Unfortunately, I would be able to probably get the order in this fall, but I'm being told on the cabin chassis that it would go on, I may not see until fall of '23, as of right now.
Right.
Why does it take you all the way to you keep,
All truck manufacturers have shut off ordering of Super Duty trucks for 1 full year,
okay,
as of right now.
wow.
You cannot buy a Ford Super Duty until
Yes.
September of '23. You will
Trying
not
to
be able
save us
order
money.
one.
And the list is just gonna get longer and longer from the waiting list.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you might wanna get on it.
All right, so then we go to PPE, right?
Yep.
that's
Free
gonna
cash,
be,
I think we should just
free
do that.
cash is probably the best way to handle that.
Yeah.
Yep, the 6 sets, right?
Okay.
The utility vehicle, we've already
keeping it right on the
covered.
list? Oh,
It's in the lease,
That was brought
correct?
up as lease, yes.
Yeah, that's in the lease.
Oh, okay.
And, right?
Yep.
Is it, okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's,
Under it,
that's the
like
pickup
utility
truck,
vehicle.
the F-150.
Oh, right, I see, it was part of the lease program.
Oh, you
talking
have it
about
on the
under
right-hand side, sorry, I was looking on the left-hand side.
Right, so,
Yep,
Oh, yeah, for the
Place.
PPE?
Yep.
yep.
Yeah, I'm just plugging in where we're, so you are supporting that? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying was, I thought underneath free cash where your mouse is, I thought you were gonna have to write lease program.
Oh,
Because-
no, okay.
But you already have it on the right-hand side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, here.
So you have free cash in 2 spots.
So
is what
I,
that's what I was getting confused.
are we gonna just support the
For the PPE.
$15,000 for the PPE?
Yeah, capital
Far
planning
left.
had put it there,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what they were
that's fine.
recommending. I put it over
we
on
don't
the
really
far
have a
left.
choice, right?
No.
That's
I-
what
no.
we
I
are
mean,
going to,
Yeah, I think we
Yes,
should.
and we are gonna do
Yeah.
it from a lease for the.
for the
vehicle.
utility vehicle.
Yes.
Okay.
So it sounds like we're on board with that.
Right,
What are you talking about, Sean?
The $15,000 gear replacement,
the gear replacement.
that's,
Yep.
Right here,
that's
yeah.
good to go.
Okay, so I'll add that to the,
And,
And the other stuff we did out of ARPA, so that's done.
right,
The cruiser,
that's
let
part,
let's just keep
that's either
that.
gonna be the lease or it's gonna be a purchase.
Right,
We
free
just don't
cash.
know which.
It's not gonna be a borrowing, so we can take that.
Yeah,
Not that it affects your budget, there'll be money back from the AED purchase, because I was able to secure another grant for AEDs, so there'll be a little bit more ARPA coming back to you guys.
Okay,
that
all
would be good.
Bob the Grant Man Flaherty, nice.
right.
Good job. Thanks, chief.
Okay,
Replace the compactor.
I
We
thought
gonna just
had
do-
figured that out already, but no.
No, we're gonna do it out of free cash?
I would put it out of free cash.
I would too.
Just be done with it.
Yep, finally.
Okay, let's
It's been on the list for years.
let Marlene catch up if.
yeah,
if
let me
you
get out
catch
of
up with
here.
some
So
of her-
where were you at?
I'm sorry, replace the compactor at the transfer
compactor
station.
At the DPW.
So that'd be
Okay.
$80,000. We'd do it out of free
Okay, and that's gonna
cash.
come from free cash?
Free
Yeah.
cash.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a total of the free cash, so we can start running a list.
I do.
Kim's running a list
I
right now.
have it,
Okay.
We're what, $1 million?
Yeah.
What's our total number?
Tell you, it's 1,000,000, hold on one second, right here.
1 point.
So it's 1,147,494. And so right now,
We've barely gotten
we have
started.
spent 115,504.
Oh, good.
So Marlene, if you wanna, while you're right there, the fire department one, we think that now that I've talked to Bob, it's 55,000 projected in that.
Right here, if,
Yep.
right, that's the difference for the radios. So do
55,000.
do you want to
Yes,
do
could you
that?
please?
The what?
The 55,000 for,
I didn't hear them agree to
Oh.
that. That's why I'm
Oh,
asking,
I'm
do they
sorry.
want to do that?
What is it?
not, do I want to do it? Do you guys agree with
I'm
what I
asking,
suggested?
right. So Sharon has recommended funding 55,000, which is the difference between the grant and the town's cost for the radio communications equipment. That
Right, the
was
grant was a
Right,
couple
right.
hundred.
So
last
we don't have to
year.
do a loan for it.
correct.
yes.
She did, she said earlier, yes, she
Yeah.
wouldn't have
Yes.
to do the
Yeah.
loan.
Oh,
Yes,
right, yes, yes.
Yes,
So-
I
thank
wanted to
you.
hear you say that you agree with
Yes.
me that that
No,
was.
no, no, yeah, no,
Right.
you guys.
I
are-
know that's what she's suggesting, recommending, but I'm waiting to hear from.
Right, so we don't have
you
to
guys.
borrow
Right.
it.
You guys
We
okay
have
with
yet to
that?
borrow.
With all due respect, Sharon, I
No problem.
do.
Now you've got to
I
put the
just thought you
trash
were asking
compactor,
me.
or the
Okay, yeah.
compactor at the transfer station.
That's 80,000.
I already have it.
80, right?
Yep.
Okay,
So she's caught up, and then the
I'll add it to the
the
special articles
DPW's
later.
pickup truck, that's under the lease program.
Yep.
Yep.
So we can go to the next page.
Highway?
What about the bathroom? That's 50,000.
Oh, where did that go?
That
Wait a
was
minute.
50,000.
Wait a minute.
One?
What are we talking about?
The bathroom, town hall,
bathroom
second
upstairs
floor
here?
Says
bathroom.
free
That's
cash.
50,000.
And I
Yeah,
will-
Sharon thinks she has money
Are
for
we going to
that.
wait on that?
By next Tuesday,
Like
I will
maybe
be able to
TBD?
confirm that
So we
that-
could repurpose town hall
Oh, that's
money for that, because
repurpose.
we'd have to use it for town hall anyway, so we might as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
One little good news I told you today.
Okay.
Well, that is good news. Very nice.
Yeah,
All right, sorry,
okay.
I missed that one.
So where are you on the second page?
We just flipped it.
Now we're on the second page.
we didn't do any of highway yet.
That's the second page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, the
Right.
only, yeah, we did DPW, we're done
Right.
with that, now we're on highway.
right.
Yeah, for us, it's flipping the page of the
Oh, sorry.
spreadsheet.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. So the first thing it says, repair, I mean, I know this isn't
So
what
this
we
is-
need, but it says repair the Raymond Ave, so.
Yeah,
I
Okay,
thought
we're up on there.
I thought we had already decided to do that
Yep.
with ARPA.
No, I'm sorry.
No.
We did. I was just saying where we were on our sheets.
that's
That's all. Yep.
we didn't decide, well, we didn't,
Did we do that?
no,
with
we haven't
ARPA?
decided that.
We didn't
I don't
decide?
recall that being on the list.
No,
Or
I
maybe it
have-
was on the list, it
I
just
have
didn't
all,
get
I have
funded.
all those on free cash right now.
Okay,
I mean, we can change it, but we got 1 million in a, 1.2
Yeah.
2 million in free cash, so,
In different ways of being able to use the fund.
right, and the ARPA is way more flexible now than it was before.
Right, you want to leave that?
The flashing pedestrian signals, didn't Garrett say last week or the week before he's applied for a grant for those?
That's what I have here, may get a grant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought,
Yeah, it
yes.
says
Phil
free
and Garrett
cash, but I
applied, yeah.
remember saying.
I-
Yeah,
well,
So
the
Marlene, are you going to
I don't-
change the,
Okay,
change on the capital plan?
no, the drainage on Raymond Ave? Are you
So
going
we're
to
gonna
put?
do
you're
that
gonna
out
put
of
as
free cash.
So we are going to do free cash?
At this point.
Okay,
Yeah. So you got to change your other
okay,
page too.
and that is 110?
Yeah.
yeah.
So do you want to hold on the flashing pedestrian signals? Then you could do it out of ARPA later on if you don't get the grant or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
That
So
makes
what
sense.
was that Raymond Ave?
Raymond Ave drainage.
Repair drainage Raymond Avenue to School Street.
So I'll just put that in as a hold for
Supposed to be
grant
under
or
ARPA
ARPA.
funding?
Well, we had it as both,
Okay.
or one or the other.
Yeah.
And I think part of
Feels-
what we're feeling is, well, yeah, yes, I think it's because of how you can spend ARPA versus what you have to do to spend free cash.
Okay.
So
It
some of
gives
these,
us a little flexibility if we can hang on to the ARPA a
some
little
of
bit
these things
longer.
we're waiting for grants.
Right,
If we did or didn't get the grant and that made a decision about whether we spend the money, we don't need town meeting to spend the ARPA money.
Right.
So like you could go, like if in September we want to buy the signals and we don't find out we didn't get the grant, we could use ARPA to buy them.
Okay,
So now we've got the
The Elm Court,
a fence, install a
cut down,
fence.
take down the trees and put up a fence along that 500-foot line of stuff there.
And that's 20,
26,000. And that's free cash, I think.
and we're doing that because they're gonna move some of the storage to that?
Well, it's just I think that has actually been on the plate for a long time because it's just a mess down there. And the neighbor,
Okay,
they're trying to clean it up.
okay.
so what's the feeling on that? Free cash?
I would say free cash. No reason to.
Okay.
I think the storage building is for material storage.
yes, it is.
I don't know that it's really a building. It's a fabric. My understanding is that
Prefab.
it's like it's a fabric like covered, I don't know, whatever you call that
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Pole thing with
Carport?
yeah, big carport, yeah.
It's like what Chuggy, what Bartlett's have up on,
Right.
up there. Yep.
So, and then, well, we already have the pole barn. It's up at the DPW.
I don't really understand why we have to put garage doors on a three-sided building that stores equipment in it that
I'd have-
mostly stays dry. I mean, I personally am not a big fan of this one.
Yeah, we can look at I haven't looked at the memo. Do you have the memo, Marlene? We can look at it, just see what it said.
Can we go back to the Elm Court storage building for a second?
Yeah.
Are we approving that out of free cash at this point? I'm just trying to keep Marlene, I know she's flipping around, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was going
I
to
just-
ask you, oh, I
Yep.
already have it. Yeah, I was going to ask what the decision was on that. The storage building
Free
here?
cash.
Yeah,
Free
it was-
cash, yeah.
Yep.
I don't remember about that one, Daryl. We have to
Yeah,
look.
what is that for?
I asked about it last week. I just don't understand why we have to put garage doors in
That's draft.
there. You know, I know the building they're talking about. It's the building behind the town barn.
Right.
It's just a full building. They park equipment in. It faces to the south, so yeah, maybe occasionally you get snow or something that blows in, but I don't.
Says priority, whatever that means,
Yeah.
whatever that means. I'm
There
just
isn't any
saying,
more
you know.
detail with
Well, I
that.
mean, this is just, yeah.
Yeah, we can get, we'll get,
I'd like more
Wow.
detail.
Yeah, we can get more detail.
yeah.
Okay,
So that's free cash, Marlene, the Elm, yep.
so we are going to do that?
Yep,
Which one?
No, the other one. She's talking about the 94.5, not the
Or-
15.
Yeah,
We are doing the 9,500.
Yes.
Yeah. And the flashing signals there, you're going to wait on that, right?
yes, we're
Yeah.
gonna wait because we might get a grant.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep,
Hold on the signals. Hold on the,
Okay, and then, so we're gonna
94.5.
wait on the pole barn.
for info, hold for info is what I put in.
info. Now, the next one, I thought they told us last week that chapter 90 won't pay for
No, line painting.
its line.
Won't pay for
Yeah.
line painting anymore
Unless
unless
it's
it's
a
on a
brand
new
new-
road, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Dumbest thing. Okay.
okay.
Well, and I happened to meet with a rep and I said, the state's got money, how can we possibly, how come we're given less money in chapter 90 this year than we did last year? I don't get it. I hope the House corrects some of that.
we did get an additional $147,000 that the state voted on for Hatfield received that to be, I don't know if it's a
For this
supplement
year?
to, or, yeah, we just got an email from Senator Comerford's office this week, or last week,
That'll help.
to be used as Chapter 90 type of funding. So,
Right.
but I think it's called, it's called something else. But
Right,
that's what it's for. So that was good news.
okay. So now we can move down to water. The rest of these are chapter 90, we don't really have to.
So the pole barn, you're not doing anything with that right now?
No,
Right.
No.
We need
Okay.
more info from Phil.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
So the next one I see is the logic controller for the water filtration.
that's done.
That's
Yep.
done.
That's right.
Route 5 is done.
Yep.
Route 5 is done.
Yeah.
Expand water, yeah, they're not, we're holding off on the next one.
Yep. Oh, okay, I'm
Did-
gonna change that, hang on. I just wanna change it to hold.
Yeah,
Not, or
This one
whatever.
here?
yeah, the expand
Straits
water,
Road, yep.
Straits Road, the depot road.
Okay.
And then design water extension, Route 5, Chestnut Street North. Oh, no, that's not even for this year.
No,
Yeah.
That's
So if
for
you
a
go
couple
down to
years. So-
sewer then?
Yep, so we're down to sewer.
Oh, broadband, that's been
yeah,
taken care
broadband's
of.
done.
That's done.
Turn the page.
They replace the generator, that's all.
Done,
That's
done,
They're done, yeah.
Okay,
all done.
Yep.
Okay.
so then we get to the vehicle lease we have already talked about.
So, but if we wanna, but we'd have to pay,
fix this.
we have to pay $31,450 in free cash this year on that to pay that off.
Yes,
Otherwise, we're
yes.
gonna,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
so that
So that
should
needs to
be
be-
added from free cash.
For this year's payment.
Right. So it's called,
What was it, 31?
it was 31,000.
450.
Yeah.
450. Okay. and that's-
Pay off existing lease, I guess. I don't know, however you want to word it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take the COA van out of 24 and move it into 23
Give it a new price.
and give it a new price tag,
Oh,
70,000.
77, right?
Oh,
What did you say, Sharon, it was?
70, right?
70.
Oh, sorry.
Two?
Sorry, Sean.
70.
70.
70. Good, that's better.
So we'll put it in 23 for 70,000, either, well, I just have it as part of the lease program for now, and we'll sort out those 4 vehicles the way we need to in the
Changing
end.
this to 70, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so either we're gonna free cash 48,000 or we're gonna free cash 70,000.
Correct, right.
We just don't know.
Which, yeah, yep,
Okay.
yep.
Okay.
how much is left in free?
Boiler, emergency service building.
Must have quite a bit left.
Replace boiler
gotta
for
have a lot
emergency service
left.
building. Is Bob here? Mike, Bob, what's that?
The boiler over at the,
That's
They
over.
talked about it last
So,
week.
so there's radiant heat set
Oh,
up,
that's-
ready to go in the building, but there's nothing to make it go.
Nothing to make
We have a,
it go.
we have a car over there with no engine in it, so we need the
or
engine.
steering wheel.
Yeah.
All right.
Capital plan says it's a priority.
Yeah,
Okay,
so that 15,000
it's free cash.
is
Free cash, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, currently it's the Modine heaters that are over there, right?
There's nothing in that section.
Yep.
They're
Oh.
talking about the 3 engines
Oh,
where
yeah.
there's no heat at all.
Boiler, emergency service building. Okay.
All right.
15,000. Oh, yeah.
Oh, do I-
So-
You already
okay,
have
I
the
didn't have-
15,000.
So schools were
Oops.
borrow, that we took care of ARPA with the furniture, technology, or no?
No, and
we didn't.
the Smith Academy office renewal renovation, that, we're not doing that.
What?
The, office renovation,
The design work on
yeah,
that?
the design work, we're not, that's, we need to go back to the drawing board on that. It's not,
Okay, so not approved.
it's just, it's not nearly enough money, it's not, we just gotta figure it out.
Which one is, which?
I have it written.
Oh, you have it written down, I was
Yeah.
looking for it. Now, what about this student desk furniture? Did we do anything with that?
We haven't decided.
So that's 20,000, so that could be free cash.
Yes, well, certainly not borrowing.
And the technology replacement, that's the Chromebooks?
Yep,
So I would assume that would be free cash.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, except penny,
Yeah, I just want to.
620.
Yep.
I hate formulas.
So,
That's it, right? For free,
I
for
mean, that's.
capital
that's-
planning stuff?
What's, yeah, you still have $500,600,000 in free cash.
so
we already
should
spent
we
150
think about
Before.
putting a chunk of money into stabilization?
Yes.
Yes, please.
You know, what do we have in stabilization now?
Hold on.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sharon, do you have?
I think you have, Marlene, I don't want to screw you up. I think you have one extra cell filled in there where the 620 is. On
You
the
have a few
bottom,
hundred.
like you have 2 of them there. You know what I
Right,
mean?
because it just carries.
Oh, it carries it down automatic,
down
gotcha,
In case
okay.
we add
Got it.
another,
Just wanted to make sure.
yeah,
Okay,
I just wanted to,
yep,
yeah, just in case.
All right.
Running out of room here.
yeah. Good, well, we're at the end.
I think the other
maybe.
question is, do you?
Oh, so the
do you wanna
question was,
take
do you
on
happen to know how
something?
much either you or Sharon is left?
Stabilization,
Oh, yeah.
just checking
Oh.
that right
Do you
now.
want to take on a project?
We have 2 stabilization.
Maybe one of those
Three.
parking.
Okay,
That's
We
what
have
I
one that's
think.
called stabilization,
yeah,
that has
worse.
485,000 in it.
yeah.
Then we have one that says stabilization capital, that has $35,998. And where's the third one? Hold on, those two are the closed. Then we have
Sure,
one,
that was a good idea at one point.
Yeah,
We were
it
doing
made sense,
something there.
it made sense at the time.
Yeah, we were doing something.
We have a capital, right? Did you mention that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 35,000.
and then we have one that says stabilization town hall that has $211,882.
Oh, wow.
Why don't
Why don't we take some of that and put it into our stable?
Why don't we get rid of the town hall stabilization and put it in regular stabilization?
Yeah, we don't really need
Well, I
it.
think we did it because
Right,
we were in our phase,
right.
we were in our phases.
That was Jeff Boyle
Yeah,
wanted that.
absolutely, we did
But-
it for
but
a
we should-
reason at the time.
Yeah.
but-
I will put that on my to-do list for,
Well, and can I suggest the capital stabilization? I
I
would,
think they should all get combined.
I agree with that.
Yeah, we don't, I mean,
The less bank accounts.
Yeah,
the
you
happier I
the
am.
idea was
either
to
way,
do
we have-
something big was coming, so you
Right.
put the money aside and put it by itself, so that way it could only be spent on a capital project.
Well, remember
Right.
last year we did that because we had
We did that-
$1,000
we did it for,
sewer and
You
water,
still have to go back to
$1,000
town meeting and
Oh,
make any of these work, so it doesn't
Agreed.
matter if
Yeah.
it's.
Daryl, I
Right?
agree, but that was the reasoning
yes,
for
I
it.
think the
I
reasoning was
remember.
just to segregate it in a way that said, this is not, because what happens is once money goes into stabilization, then it is for emergencies, right?
Yeah.
And none of that is an emergency. In
Right.
fact, there's rarely ever emergencies.
Yeah.
You know, so the idea of town hall stabilization was to set up this thing where you're basically saying, we're having a savings account to buy a new town hall, piece by piece.
Well,
And
would you
that's
use,
what you did.
would you use up the 39,000 for the town hall stabilization to pay off your new computer system or your
Yeah,
thing out back, your
you could, or
cloud?
you could do the bathroom.
Or what, if we don't have funding, I mean,
Yeah,
Right.
Or you can just add it to the regular stabilization and bump up that number that we're
Right.
working so hard to bump
Well,
up.
because by
And since you-
doing that, then we're not moving free cash into that, and we could consider some
right, another
things-
project.
We could consider things like doing one of the two parking lots that have been on for
Years.
ever. Yes, years.
And oddly, for whatever reason, I seem to remember that if you're gonna look at one of those, that the elementary school parking lot is somehow worse.
Which doesn't make sense, but
It
okay.
doesn't, but that's why I remember it, because it's counterintuitive.
remember the sidewalks
Yes.
of the
No,
elementary
that's
school?
what I'm remembering, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, we remember it all, right?
So you guys are okay if I put an article to combine all, just to reiterate,
Well,
it would go to town meeting.
however we want to do it, or we can spend the
Potentially.
39,000 on something here
But
at
we
town hall.
could we could still combine, we
Yeah.
have town hall, capital.
Can I just
Yeah.
make a suggestion, and you decide what you want? I think we should keep the capitals
Okay.
one, because it's generic enough, and it still serves that purpose, you know what I mean? Like, we could still put money into, like, for example, right now, we could say, we're gonna take $250,000 or whatever in free cash and put it into capital stabilization with the intent of using it for whatever portion of the school roof is not grant funded. You know,
Yeah.
like that could be, you know, or to pay for part of the school roof, for whatever, it might be helpful. The town hall one is just so specific that having all this money in it, like,
Yeah, make
you
it a
don't know
capital
if
in
you're gonna
general.
need to spend the money on town hall or need to spend it on some other
Right.
building, you know?
Yeah.
Unless you have a plan to do something at town
You're
hall
right.
with the money, it doesn't make sense to me to have it there.
Yep, agreed.
I think that was all set up when they were going to piecemeal,
Yeah, it
and
was.
most of the work's got done. All that's left is like the bathroom upstairs.
Yeah.
Now, I've missed a couple things because I was sick and my dad and everything. Have there been any discussion about an article for upstairs, not just the
No.
bathroom? There's
Nope.
nothing,
Just
no
the
projects,
plans, no
okay.
At
plans.
this point.
No,
So here it's got the elementary parking lot at 218,000.
That needs to be increased.
Yeah. I
Oh, you
would-
want an adding machine? Did you
No.
want me to?
no, I'm just wondering how much it
wanted to
would
add
really
some.
be today.
How much, you know, can
That's been
we,
carried forward a few times.
yeah, can somebody talk to Phil and see if we can get a better number for that?
I'll talk about the elementary school parking. lot.
Or Smith,
Yep.
whichever, you know, really. it
Well,
doesn't
we should get a
matter.
price on both if we're getting a price on
Right, I'm
one.
just looking at the capital plan, and Smith Academy's out at 2026, and HES is at 2024.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that means,
And they're both in rough shape.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk to Phil about that.
And the
then
reason-
we'd have the numbers for next week and,
Yeah.
you know,
And honestly, the reason that it's out at 2024, I know, is because the school roof was in 2023.
Right.
So they didn't want to do both of them at the same time. But now the school roof is out at 2024 and the parking lot's in 2024, which means one of them, the parking lot is not going to happen in 2024 either.
Right.
So if we don't do it now,
Yeah, we
Yep.
should.
I don't know when we do it.
Okay.
And, you know, do we want to think about, like, do we want to think about putting money in capital stabilization for that roof? Because you're going to wind up, that's going to be $200,000 at least, right?
Well, there's a part of me that says yes, and there's another part of me that says a borrowing because it's a roof, it's gonna be.
Right, yeah, I see your point. Yep.
Be multi-years, and so,
Hopefully it'll last longer than the original one.
yeah, I hope so.
Will we be eligible for some kind of funding if we wait one more year?
Yeah, we're eligible for
Yeah, they have to
school
wait
building
another
assistance
year.
funding, but
That's why.
it would only cover probably 50-60% or
50,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
So you still have to come up with
Yeah, we still need to go
some
up to
money,
200.
yeah.
but,
But you're right, a borrowing might be, might be a better idea.
so Sean, you're not available next Tuesday, are you available another day?
Thursday.
Oh cripe, I can't do Thursday. I'm gonna be
Um,
out of town. Okay.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I could maybe do Wednesday. I won't be at my best.
You're always at your best.
No, no, I could do Wednesday if I have to.
I just think it would be beneficial to have as many people here as possible.
Yep.
I'm fine with that. If that's okay with other people, I don't want, I don't want you to change it just because I'm not here, but if you want to,
I think I
Wednesday
can
work.
make Wednesday work instead of Tuesday. I don't know what you guys.
How about you, Ed?
I can make Wednesday work.
All right. I can make Wednesday work.
And,
That's the 13th.
Yeah, how about you, Marlene?
I believe so, I can do that.
John?
Can make it.
right, because we're getting close,
Okay.
John cannot. Well, but we're getting close to crunch time. And
Yes.
we should have
Middle of April.
as many people
Yeah.
here as possible, and even if John isn't available, let's make sure we send another notice to all departments that if you wanna talk, maybe they should come. And I apologize that I told the school that, oh yeah, we'd be remote, so that was
Well, the
my
school,
bad.
yeah, the school received the same email. I had just, and then,
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
yeah.
recall if I had said that it would be in person. I may have.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
was there, outside of capital though, was there anything else we were thinking about free cash for? We're thinking about snow and ice,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
some
Might want to
portion,
knock it down all the way.
some stores for snow and ice.
Yeah. Well,
Or see what creeps up in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
of course, if you knock it down, doesn't it, it helps our number on
Oh,
on
yes.
this
Yeah.
page.
It definitely helps your
dramatically.
number, but it builds a $130,000 hole into 24, which you could fix again with free cash, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, or maybe not. It may, if you don't, if
Yeah.
it doesn't snow, then it doesn't. You know what I mean?
seems-
Like, it just, you don't
seems
know.
Every year, we run into this with snow and ice, and
And I don't know, honestly, if the $130,000 is average or less than average. I mean, I
yeah.
don't know.
And we're certainly.
You don't know, and you don't know if it's snowing or icing on a weekend or after
Right,
hours
right, it's-
versus
right.
Monday through Friday,
Right,
8 to
it's-
5. I mean, all those things come
right.
into the
Right.
equation,
Right.
the financial.
Yeah, in a
equation.
big way.
Yeah,
Because if you're
It's
paying
gonna
time
freeze.
and a half, like, what do you, yeah, it's,
What are you guys thinking about COLAs? Because that hasn't gotten,
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's, oh,
I mean, I think you
I think at least.
gotta
a
do at least
2%.
2%, right? I mean, your inflation's pretty Yeah.
What,
Percent was
Well,
47,000.
we still have one more item on the topics to cover.
What's
Do we
that?
need the finance committee with that?
So I'll
No.
I'll take the 2% and
The CARES
make
Act
sure
fund?
that
The
I
CARES,
roughed it,
so-
so I'll get a solid number for
So-
next week for you.
we have no idea what either of the negotiating contracts, we don't know.
Those are not settled
No,
yet.
Not settled yet.
Just,
I mean, inflation is kind of rough this year. Do we think about maybe instead of 2.5 at least?
well, here's what I'm wondering. If we did a 2% COLA, and I'm gonna throw this out there, so
Yeah.
don't hold me to this, but what if we used free cash to give a bonus to everybody who worked through COVID,
Isn't
for
that-
example?
I actually had that conversation with Marlene today.
Wouldn't that be pretty much everybody?
Well, yeah,
But you could use
One-shot deal.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you could use ARPA money
You could.
if you wanted.
Either
to.
way.
You can go either way.
Either or, yeah.
But it would include pretty much all town employees.
I mean, I don't know, I haven't thought through it yet, I'm just putting it out for discussion.
Right, and what I'm just trying to prevent.
What have
is
other people done?
who worked through and who didn't.
Yeah, right, I
and
don't-
I don't want to divide, I don't want to be that.
Yeah, I don't want to, yeah, right, it's
wanna-
hard to decide unless you have some really clear set of criteria by which you're gonna make that decision, right? That's what I'm worried about.
But if we decided to do it.
How many employees
everybody-
do we have total, Sharon?
180 that we pay regularly, 212.
I'm not including elected officials or, sorry,
That's
No
why I
offense
said
taken.
180
I don't know how to read the room.
So is that how you frame it, 180 regular?
Yeah. If I did payroll today,
Yeah,
there's around 180 people that I pay every 2 weeks.
okay,
But
okay.
I look
I
at how
see
many
what you're saying.
W-2s I do.
Okay,
Then you factor in the influx in and out.
Yeah.
So that's how I break it down.
okay.
I mean, I have a whole spreadsheet that can break it down by school, by
Right,
everything
right.
you could possibly want, but.
And we didn't give anything to anybody in negotiations, right? Or that's not a conversation that's occurring anywhere?
Any additional funding, you mean,
Yes.
versus, no, we did not.
Okay.
So.
So there's no reason not to, it's not like the teachers or the DPW or somebody has negotiated some kind of.
That's
thing.
not on the town side, I can't speak to the schools. but-
Right.
Yep.
Didn't last year we gave the 2% and then we gave
2.3.
an additional
2.3 for some positions.
which kind of gave,
Discretionary.
Yes, it
yes,
was.
discretionary
By the
because,
department head or something.
because you, in the
bring up.
course of the year, you were gonna be negotiating with various department heads and whatnot, and does it make sense to have a fund to help with that? Whether it's you or all of a sudden you find, whatever.
Well, if you did $500, it would be $90,000. Roughly,
If you did what, Sean?
$500.
And that might be a nice thank you.
Yeah.
Agreed. It's, and Sean and I did not talk today, Marlene, just so you know. Because I called Marlene and I said, hey, so what do you think about, you know?
Well, it's just, other people are doing it, that's the
Other
only
people are
reason.
doing
Yeah, that came up in the
And we're in
conversation.
a good position
Yeah.
with some of the funding we have available to us to do something like this,
Right.
I would say.
Yeah.
And I think it's certainly well-deserved, and it's
So
a
this would
token
be
of
people who
appreciation.
were employed at a certain time, or
Well,
Well,
you
that's
have to
what I mean,
figure
do you
it
base
out.
it all the way back to the beginning of COVID? Do you just do it for last year? I mean, we got maybe a little bit more conversation.
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure how you do it.
Yeah, we got to figure out
We can-
a fair way to,
We can talk about it.
So what are you thinking for the straight COLA part? You want me to dive down with the 2.5%? Or do you want me to really do 2.5? I don't mind doing it, I just wanna make sure I bring you what
You
you want.
already did the numbers.
Well, but I didn't,
Yeah, but they're not.
I did a rough.
close, but not
I didn't-
like the exact
I didn't fine
amount.
tooth it, 'cause-
Let's dive
fine,
down
okay.
into 2 and 2.5.
and then I know that there's a couple positions that need to get brought up to the minimum wage again, so we'll make sure we have
Oh,
a
that's
number
right,
for
we
that.
talked about that early on.
Who's not getting paid minimum?
So the fire training people, the election workers, there's somebody else.
That would be the new rate as of January, right?
Oh, and the
Which
council on
is-
aging drivers.
14,
So
no,
as
it's
of-
1380 or something.
As of January
75
1st,
benefits for
2022,
It goes to I thought it goes to 15.
as of January
and
1st, 2022, it's 1425. As of 23, it's 15.
Man, I don't,
But you don't have, so, and
You
I'm
don't
not
have
saying
to
I'm
do it.
against it.
No, you
But we
absolutely
don't have to do it.
Right.
But what we have
Because
done
they're
the last 2
municipal.
years is we've done it halfway through the
Yeah.
year. Is we don't do it for the first.
Right.
We're just gonna bring the few positions up
Yeah.
to make sure that they're at the
Right.
1425. And then next year, we look at the 15.
can I make a suggestion?
Whatever you want me to
just
do.
to look at something, just to see how much it would cost. But honestly, like, our COA van drivers
Right.
are not making minimum wage.
Exactly.
Like, is that a position that we think is not worth minimum wage at
Well,
least?
they're making minimum wage, aren't they?
No, we have to bring them
The
up.
van drivers?
They were last year.
They
for
were,
part
but
of
they
it.
Oh,
won't
yeah.
be.
Last
Oh,
year
no,
they're
they
not
absolutely
now.
should.
Yeah.
The minimum wage is pushing their wage
I was
up.
talking more about the 1 day a year
Right,
election
no,
workers.
I'm
No
just-
offense to them, but that's
No.
what I was talking about, don't have to come up to
I'm
it
just
necessarily.
I'm just thinking,
But absolutely,
do we
though,
want to set a floor? I mean, there's so little, there's so few people. Do you want to set a floor that somewhere, do we like look at what would it cost if everyone made 16, 17 bucks
Yeah.
an hour? I mean, given that
Or do you at
you
least
get
wanna-
17 bucks an hour at Dunkin' Donuts, I feel like,
I don't
no
disagree
offense
with
to
you.
anyone.
Yeah, no,
it's just,
I'm with you.
our COA van drivers have a lot of
You can't
responsibility.
find a driver for minimum wage.
Yeah.
I don't care what you drive.
Yeah.
You could at least do, because we have them, because they're retirees. Their current rate is $14.90. If you go with a 2% raise, it brings them to, I moved the column on, $14.57. You could ask me to take all of these small positions, because the library's in the same boat, and bring them all now to 15.
I would suggest you bring them all to 15 and then give them a 2% raise on top of it. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah,
I mean, 2% on a $15 an hour, I mean,
right.
that would be my recommendation. I don't know what.
I
Ed
can
or-
break it, I'll have it broken down.
Yeah, we shouldn't, yeah, we
You
shouldn't.
don't want the 2% to be what
Right.
brings them up to minimum
No,
wage.
no,
It's-
right, no.
And
At least minimum wage.
Yeah.
Depending on the position, maybe it's more.
Right.
I mean, yeah,
Well, that's where, to Daryl's point, we sat down and it was Marlene and myself and Diana who then said, okay, there's not every position here that's in that boat, but we
Diane
had.
too. Diane from Finance
Exactly. Remember, we
Committee said.
sat, I made the list up and said, okay, this group really could use an additional 2.3%, but we
Yes,
didn't do
right.
those. So we had a pool of money in there that we built it.
Do you think that there are, just this question for me, do you think that there are other people, like, if the minimum wage was 17 bucks an hour, how many people, would that include a bunch more people, or are we still talking about the same group of people?
There's a few more, but it's
the
mostly
same
the
group,
same.
right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Same group, yep.
I think that's a great,
kinda-
I think that's a great.
Personally, it feels to me like nobody should be working here for less than that.
Yeah.
And especially not, even the election workers, like, geez, there's hardly anything more important.
given all that they went through last year.
Right, I mean, this is like, I don't know, I just,
And-
and they don't work that many hours, it's not like
Yeah.
they're gonna break the bank here. But the COA van drivers, I feel like that's kind of tough, that if they're not making 17 bucks an hour, like, they could go almost anywhere and get that.
Yeah,
And they gotta have a light,
They have to
Right.
get a CDL, don't they?
what's the
Not
licensing
a
requirement?
CDL. They have to have the next
Yeah,
step
there's-
up, but it's not a
I
CDL.
forget what it's called, but my group home driver,
It's like a bus driver's
It's a bus
license.
driver.
Yeah.
yep.
I'll
think
run
that's
it
a-
some different scenarios,
I
but
think that's a
minimum
great
15 and
idea.
then
I
go
think
from
it's a
there.
great idea.
I do, yeah. I think that's real.
I forget
Wish
what
I'd
it's
thought
called.
of it.
Yeah.
Me too.
But let's.
It just feels like wages in general have blown past us at this point on those kind of positions, and.
It's
we're not
always
keeping
it's
pace.
always been one of the goals of the select board, at least as long as I've been on it, to try to, for every position in town, have that whole range thing going on. But it's
Yep.
like one of those things you can't get to or don't get to, and then it keeps changing. So, you know, you have a range, but the next thing you know, after a couple of years, everyone's at the top or have exceeded it if you
Right.
add the 2%, you know what I mean? So it's,
Yeah, I mean, I just.
but it is the way we should do it, and I
mean,
agree with
If
you.
you had to go out now and hire
It's a
somebody,
new world. I'm with you.
yeah,
And we love the
Oh,
people we
trust
have doing it. So,
right,
You
know.
can't find anybody.
No?
that's right.
It-
Right, no, I'm at work in mental health services, you know, like, you can't hire anybody,
Can't find anybody.
yeah.
And, so, and we are still.
So are we gonna meet Tuesday or Wednesday?
Over budget, so.
Well, I think there's some tweaking that can happen in different departments.
Sean?
Marlene, do we need the finance for the
So-
next topic, the last topic we have?
So I know.
Daryl's not, I mean, is she, I'm sorry, Karen, I totally forgot your name and it's so close to mine. She said school committee is meeting Wednesday.
They're meeting Wednesday at 7.
Here.
Yeah.
Here?
You
Oh.
know, they can always meet down at Council on Aging, but the problem is John also streams their meetings.
No, that's,
Oh.
Not next week.
Why do they, but not next week,
That's fine, I'll let them know.
why do they meet here?
They
For
have
John.
to-
Have been.
So John
they
doesn't
can
have
be-
to
Oh,
start
oh,
everything.
Right.
Well, they could be. at
Because
the
we really
school
need
if
a
they wanted
cable
to.
TV
But
studio.
John's not gonna be here, so they can be at the school if they
No,
want
I meant in
to.
general. I said we need a cable
Oh,
TV
John's not
studio
here.
in general for
Yeah, but
you.
if they're
Oh,
meeting
okay.
and we're meeting on budget,
Good.
Thing.
Yeah.
Can you guys do Monday?
Sean's
Sean's
away.
gonna be away.
Sean's not
Wednesday.
back until Wednesday.
Do you want me to see if I can get in touch with them and if they can move their meeting till Monday?
Well, you're not gonna be here Wednesday to stream their meeting regardless, right?
Yeah.
I think you stay on
Yeah.
Tuesday.
yeah, the.
So they can meet
problem-
at the school because they wouldn't be able, if they're going to meet on Wednesday, because, I mean, they can certainly meet here in a different room, but they're not going to have access to public television, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So,
Right, but the problem is, if we're meeting to talk about the budget, and we've asked department heads and people to be here, and they're having a meeting,
We're
that's,
precluding them.
we're not including them as
Well,
coming.
well,
we're not having everybody in next week for
Well, if they
department
met
heads.
downstairs, though, they could come in, right? I mean, like at 6:30,
Right.
if they wanted to come for the first half hour, too, we can do
Are they
that.
meeting at 7?
At
Yeah.
7.
Okay.
It's not on the
Yeah,
calendar.
so they could
That's all
come
it
right at
is. Not on
6:30.
this- not on the
Or we
calendar.
could have
They
them,
haven't done their agenda probably.
we could have them come anytime, you know.
Yeah, we could see if they can come at 6:30, because it's not gonna matter, because John's not gonna be here anyway, so. Okay. John?
We could talk to them anytime, you know.
Well, I think the larger budgets, like Phil's budget, and I think the school budget should be discussed when we do have John here, so that town can kind
Well,
of see and hear everything that's
and-
going on.
And I do think we need to talk about, you know, and I'm sorry Chief Flaherty left, but, you know, the changes in the fire department ambulance budget, that's
That's a big.
that's big
You're right,
stuff.
people need, we need to hear that too.
People need to
you know.
hear that,
Yeah.
and if we're, I mean, we just kind of generically said tonight, you know, let's put it all in the budget, and I certainly didn't think, I expected the million, that we'd be over by $1 million, and so, and we're not, and so, anyway,
Well,
That was a big drop, which is great,
yeah.
but,
Don't worry, we did a double take because we did the same thing.
yeah, I mean.
Right, yeah,
I was
'cause-
like,
I mean, it's awesome, don't get me wrong, but.
But it still
you
makes
know,
you
it's-
nervous. That's
yeah.
why we said to Lori, well, we're gonna go through it again, you know?
yeah, we gotta go through it
It's a working
again.
document.
Just in case.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
working
because there's,
document.
because you just never know,
and we haven't looked at revenues yet either.
Right.
right, we
Yeah.
haven't looked
I
at.
mean,
Right.
local,
Right.
local receipts,
Local
Those
receipts,
need to be adjusted up, right?
yeah,
maybe.
so,
So what do you want to do next Wednesday? When
Or
we
you want to stick to Tuesday and keep it streamed.
next
So
Wednesday.
you can have
Well, I
it
mean,
Tuesday
if-
streamed with no
I don't know
Sean.
how you guys feel. I think the larger asks from department should be able to be televised.
I say that,
That's my
John, are you
personal
available next
opinion.
Tuesday?
Yes.
But I don't want to hold up a process because we, you know, and I'm not John, this isn't a shot at you, by the way, because we don't have coverage, so I don't
I
know.
think we have to have the discussion and at least get some direction, you know? So if the budget is, let's just say we're 160,000 over, I don't know where it's gonna land, but I think, me personally, next Wednesday, we need to come up with, here are possible scenarios to take care of this. And I agree with you, there's some things that are big changes. I mean, the fire department, the town has to make a decision on what we're gonna do there. We're,
For ambulance coverage.
for ambulance cover, if we're gonna hire two people that are gonna work, weekly,
3 to 11.
3 to 11,
Yeah,
And weekend
and, that's a,
yeah.
that's a big change, and there's some benefits to us doing that, but also that means more money,
Yep.
and, we haven't really, we've heard some about what the options, what's the options if we can't do that? I
Yep.
mean, what would it cost us really for anything else, because,
Well, right, because, we're already doing something now.
right.
We're doing Friday night, Saturday.
Right.
Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday.
And,
Right, so-
but has he, and I'm sorry, and hopefully, has he gotten help to do that?
Yeah, he's got, he's hired
has-
16 people. So he's got a lot of new staff to cover those shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
and that was
approved a
part-
whole bunch.
That was part of the advantage of them knowing they could come in on a weekend if they had a regular Monday through Friday job,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean? So that's how he was able to secure some of those
But
bodies.
this new budget
Yeah.
does not include
No, I don't think it does.
Saturday and
Yes, it does.
Saturday and Sunday.
It does, oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yes, it does.
Oh, great.
It
So if we
includes more
go
than that.
to, yeah, we said that earlier when he was here.
Monday through Friday
Yeah.
evenings, and all days, basically the same coverage as the police runs.
good.
Yeah.
It's,
All right.
yeah, right here.
Yeah, it includes what we're
Yeah,
doing currently plus.
161,000.
Still a conversation to have, but,
Yeah.
but it's good that it's
Yeah.
in the budget.
Yeah,
Let
there's
me ask-
161,254
Let me
for
ask a question just
16
about
hours, 7 days
approaching it
per
all the
week.
way around. Like, if you have all this stuff in, let's say this is accurate, within reason. Let's say you're $200,000, $150,000, somewhere in that neighborhood away from the levy right now,
Right.
with all this in there. Do you even want to meet next week? Do you want to wait and see what the revenue numbers are?
I think there's a lot of things you've asked us to bring back to you, the
Yeah.
special
Well, you got
funding.
COLA,
The
right?
COLA, but I'm talking about all that revenue that.
Right, we have a lot of work to do, that's part of the thing. You want to wait 2 weeks and then, maybe you have a revenue number and, because if you're going to get down to sort of like, slicing,
Yeah.
little slices off this here and there, we've never done that without a revenue number, without better
No,
revenue
no,
numbers.
it's
'Cause
always been
Because it
right
gets
at the
crazy, you
end.
could wind up doing that, and then in the end go, oh, well, we didn't have to do that, now we can undo,
Yeah.
27 things that we did or whatever. That's my only concern, is that without those House 1 numbers, how many hairs do you want to split, because that's what it's going to come down to, is,
Yeah,
can we
and
do
it-
3 days and 4 hours over here, and,
And that would still include, if we skip next week, that
Yeah.
would still leave us before town meeting, three scheduled Tuesdays, if you will, before
Yeah.
town meeting. And if we had to throw something else in there, another meeting somewhere, we could.
We've done that, we've met almost every day in a week.
yeah, well,
Yeah, yeah.
And
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, so long as when you guys, or we go through the spreadsheet, or Marlene and Sharon and Lori go, so long as there's no red, all of a
Yeah, if a
sudden-
bell goes off, we're going to need to know it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
then,
Or a buzzer,
then
maybe.
we need to meet,
Yeah.
right.
right?
well, I guess the other thing is
Right.
if it
Wait.
turns out you're way out of whack, then, I don't know, there's less to consider in a way. You're gonna have to cut out some of these things, like, we're just not gonna be able to consider some of this stuff at all, yeah.
Well, right, and then we have to decide what we're gonna,
Yeah. But again, my only argument would be that if it comes to that, and you have to decide who's not gonna get level services, if it goes the other direction, and you have to figure out who's not gonna get level services, do you wanna do that without the revenue numbers?
well, no.
Do you wanna, you know what I mean? Do you wanna start cutting
Yeah, you
budgets
wanna
and
know
then
the
find out, oh, no, actually, no. Or we have to cut more. We came up with an idea and that now that's out the window and you gotta, I don't know, it just feels like, I mean, without the governor's number, I mean,
Those are
Have
low.
we ever
is
used
ne-
that
They're
number?
low.
we've never used, that number has never been
Never.
Right.
done
Yes.
the number.
Yeah, we've always used the,
When do we traditionally get that? Have we?
It's-
I mean, it's got to be in the next week or two.
We
right?
have used those numbers before.
That's what I
going
mean.
to-
We've
yeah,
used them in the
don't we
past.
usually, isn't it?
We usually use the house
House
budget.
one is what we usually
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, when do we norm?
And
is
I'm
there a
thinking
norm?
it's sometime in a
Yeah.
couple weeks, the end of April.
Yeah, because
So if
you
we,
gotta have time for the Senate to do the budget.
Yeah.
So that takes 4 weeks probably anyway, and then you got at least, and then you gotta go to a conference committee.
Yeah,
But usually you don't have to wait for any of that because usually there's a sense
Yeah.
of local aid before that. So basically the chances, unless something catastrophic happens, the chances the Senate is gonna cut the local aid number below the House is nil.
Right.
Unless you have some precipitous decline in revenues and everyone
Yeah.
goes, oh my
And that
God, the
hasn't
world's
happened,
ending, we
right.
need to, yeah.
yeah.
Like, that's the only time I've ever seen that happen,
Yeah.
so.
so unless there's a red flag that comes up, we don't meet next week.
And that'll give the school a chance to meet.
Gives the school a chance to meet, and right now, everybody.
And do we actually have their number? I mean,
The school's number?
Oh, yeah.
like real?
It's the number they presented
What,
when
have
they
they-
presented
have they
their
voted on it, though?
preliminary. I don't believe they have.
I think the vote is the 13th. It's
Next week?
Next Wednesday.
That's their public hearing?
I believe so.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know, maybe it does make sense to just, maybe it makes sense to wait a week and catch up, see where we are, and,
Yeah. I'm okay with waiting a week. I mean, it's all good reasons. We wait until we get maybe the house numbers. And I actually don't really think you're gonna find some big red flag in this, but there might be something, but. Even if it does, there's not
time.
much we can do about it until,
right.
Right.
you know.
So we'll plan on meeting on the 19th then.
Yeah.
And then we should probably
I mean, I think if we
hope
have,
to see anybody, I think before then, we'll probably know, like, hey, we need some clarification from whoever,
Well, we've
whether it's the DPW, the schools, the Chief Flaherty, and we can maybe have at least one or two of them on the 19th, and the other one on the 26th, and then
and I
bingo,
think-
bango.
Yeah, and that's right, I mean, if we have a good revenue number,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we can do this in one night,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah, right. Yeah.
Or pretty close.
Yeah.
2 at the most, right? I mean, like,
Well, we're in such a, not only is the town in a good financial place, thank you, Sharon,
Yeah.
and Karen, and Marlene, and Jenny, and everybody else, but we've got free cash,
Yep.
good amount. We've got the ARPA funding. I mean, this is a good year,
Yep.
hopefully. Marlene and Sharon and Lori got us down $900,000 since this morning. That was huge. So, I mean, right now, we're looking at 160 over budget, right? I mean, high level. So, I mean, there's some tweaking that needs to happen with
Yeah,
different
which is cool.
departments, but as long as, to Sean's point and Daryl's point, we just need the real number from the state, the state's real number.
yeah. That's,
Because that's going
That's-
to, I mean, that could,
that's 40% of your revenue
right.
side, or
Well,
whatever,
exactly.
close to, yeah.
yeah, that's a big deal.
So we'll be working on this the rest of this week, and
I've got a big list.
Does that give you, Charlene,
Lydia.
jeez, Sharon and Marlene, I combined that right there. Yes.
There you go.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like Bennifer, we can just, does that give you more, like, comfortable time to sort of work?
oh
through
yeah,
some of
absolutely,
this? Yeah, so you're not,
absolutely.
We have 2 weeks.
yeah, pressure's not on
kind
to
of.
do it.
I was fine with even next week if you needed to, only in the sense, but we can also do it by email. When we work on that capital list, give you guys a little, insight on what that number is kind of looking like when, her and I meet tomorrow. And say, okay, I'm gonna take these, you take those, because that'll help you make a couple decisions about, a parking lot or two.
Yeah, I'll get with Phil about the
Yeah.
parking lots, by the way,
Yeah,
tomorrow.
we should probably get.
I'll ask him at
get
least,
a
so, yep.
Realistic.
We need a realistic number there. Okay.
To do it right.
Yeah.
All right.
The second time.
So we'll see you
Okay,
guys
first
on
you
the
don't
19th.
succeed, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. 6:30 still?
Yeah,
Yeah.
6:30 on April 19th.
okay. See what transpires. All right.
Good job, you guys. You're welcome. We have one more item I think we need to take up.
We do, actually, well,
Or
two. One,
two.
you don't have to, this CARES Act money, you don't have to do that, but the debt exclusion question,
Yep.
I really would like the board to vote that.
My correct folder.
So I don't know if you have
So
the
John, we just need a
warrant.
couple more minutes of your time, please. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Oh, I don't have, do I don't have a thing.
You don't have a what thing?
Oh, is it part of the articles?
Well, the
No, the one
question
you
is
need
on
is-
here, the ballot question
All
that
right,
the board
but we
needs to
need a vote
vote.
tonight.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
need to vote tonight.
All right, so the Board of Selectmen, because of the time frame between now and the election, need to vote on a ballot question that we walked through last week regarding the wastewater treatment plant. So just because of that time frame, we need to take a vote.
Right.
So the ballot question is, shall the town of Hatfield be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2.5, so-called, the amounts required to pay for the bond issued in order to pay for the wastewater upgrades and improvement project? So that will be the ballot question should we vote to move it forward. This will also be an article at town meeting for discussion. So this is one of those expenses for the residents that have to pass at town meeting and pass at the ballot box. Failure of one or the other, and it doesn't go through, right? Did I say that?
That's correct.
So I will make a motion for that ballot question as I just read it.
And I'll second that.
Okay.
Is there any discussion?
None for me unless Marlene or Sharon or anyone had to add anything?
Okay.
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks,
Thank
Ed.
you.
You're welcome.
Motion passes.
Yeah.
The other item on here, just quickly, is an amount of money, $16,737, that was not covered by the CARES funds that had been allocated to Hatfield. So, I think it was $289,000, and $16,737 of it is not covered. So we need to take care of that. And I talked with the accountant, and both of us agreed,
Pay for it out of
ask-
ARPA funds would be my suggestion.
Ask the board to,
Yep. So residents understand, we received as a town roughly $290,000 from CARES Act, from COVID money. The vast majority of that went to pay for the HVAC system at Smith Academy. That was $210,000 or $215,000. So we were good partners with our school district. The other 70 or 80, and by the way, Marlene and Chief Flaherty and Sharon did a great job of earmarking all the money and what was covered and what we received. It went for PPE, it went, salary, some COVID coordinator. But we ran into a little issue on occasion where FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management System, and MEMA, the Massachusetts Emergency System, would not necessarily agree with our interpretation of what the
Right.
funds could be used for. And then one would say, go to the other one for the money, and anyways. So it wasn't any misuse of funds, it wasn't any purposeful expenditure over the amount we were allotted, but I think $16,000 over a 2-year period, given the midst of COVID and everything we went through, is not bad at all to have not been reimbursed.
Right,
So
that-
I will make a motion that the deficit in the CARES Act funding be paid for out of the ARPA funds.
I'll second that, but what is left in the first round of ARPA funds that we have?
Let me see,
It's about 400,000 or 500,000 still left, I think.
Well, we haven't received the second funding.
Out of the money we've
From the
actually
first
gotten.
funding.
Oh,
Right.
that I
We still have-
don't know.
We still have money in there.
update from,
I was thinking of the whole overall amount, yeah. That's right, because we got it in pieces, piecemeal.
Right.
let me see, the latest one I got.
All the hard
this
work
is
these
it.
guys put in to have it come up short is really ticks me off, man.
Okay, I think this is the
Fighting between
latest.
the agencies, you know, the FEMA, MEMA.
Well, while she's
So
looking
the
up,
total
motion-
revenue is $971,746. We've received, we've received 485?
About half,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
Okay, and we have a balance of 71,960.
Okay, motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion?
New.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Motion carries. So that we still will have
you.
money left from the first round in the ARPA funds of around, what, 50 grand or so?
A lot of money in finance reserve for FY '22 also. Just as all of these conversations that
Yeah.
are happening.
Yeah.
There's like $80,000 or $75,000 there. So it's a pool of money that to not get lost in the
Yeah, and the shuffle.
shuffle
Yeah.
of things.
Yep. Thank you for the reminder. Was
So
there?
look where
Sorry.
we're at now, just because I updated the
Yep.
free
Oh, let me
cash
put on my
number. and
glasses so I can see.
So we're not over. So that's
What is that we're looking at, Marlene?
so the 274.
Yeah, what's the category?
So this is the
Two-
excess levy
Oh,
capacity.
yep. Gotcha.
So before we were over,
Now,
now we're
we were overspent. Now
we're overspent, now we're underspent.
Because we took things out of budget and put it into capital.
Right.
But we're gonna review all this.
longer.
We're now
So that's a $430,000 swing. Weren't we 160 over?
Yeah.
And now we're
That's
270 under?
That's right.
Just from tonight?
Yeah.
It's been a good Tuesday, huh? It's $1.2 million swing. And that's with so as far as we know, that's with everybody's budgets. DPW, fire, and schools as presented.
the one I didn't have money.
I'm not,
I can't
I
read it.
am not doubting what you ladies are saying.
Here,
Marlene, the one I didn't look at that I thought of while we were sitting here and talking was this Council on Aging, because they had asked for additional salary. Did that go in there too?
Council on Aging is, where is Council on Aging?
I was just trying to think of different
Health and
places where,
Human
did that
Services.
get put in? You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right here. New 20-hour staff for
that's fair.
15,600. Yeah, and then they had an increase in expenses as well.
Yeah, well, this does kind of go back to what I just said about 5 or 10 minutes ago, which when the Finance Committee was still here, I mean, we've turned the corner with our own stuff. And then when you add the free cash and the ARPA funding that I would say we're spending wisely, we're not just blowing it. We are in a very good position right now.
Yeah.
A lot can happen between April 5th and May,
Yeah.
early May, but let's hope not.
I still, want to play it safe. Everybody,
Oh, yeah.
it's hands on deck and eyes, looking at this budget
Tomorrow,
workbook.
will you resend that back out to me now we
I
looked
will.
at these? Because you and I talked about those formulas yesterday. That's the one thing I didn't get to make sure you wanted me
To double check
it out.
those, yeah.
So,
Yeah, please do. I mean, it doesn't have to be tomorrow, but,
No.
Yeah.
yeah. And
There
then
are
if you-
so many formulas in this workbook. Oh, my God,
you do
it's,
it. Okay, anything else for us?
no, I do not have anything else.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, Ed.
Motion
Thanks, John.
carries.